out. Whoa. Oh, I'm stuck.
Division 2, Late Night Live with Tux, and it's Saturday night. Welcome, brothers and sisters. We got a good show for you tonight. I've been looking forward to this one all week. Hey, before we get started, though, let's do a quick sound check. Make sure you guys can all hear me. I'm coming in loud and clear. So if you can hear this, give me a hashtag TuxLive in the chat feed. Appreciate you guys. So let's dig in. Put your feet up. Check out this gameplay. Listen to some jams for a quick second. Let's confirm you can hear me loud and clear. And then we will get going on the topic of the night. All right, thanks for that, Anthony DeMar. So it sounds like I'm coming in loud and clear. Appreciate the hashtag. All right, Anubis, welcome, brothers. I'll turn down the music in a second. I just want to make sure we get you guys in the right mood, get you pumped, in the vibe. Thanks, Ultra Mega Man. Glad you made it. I think it's probably about 11 or noon down in Australia. My bad Australian accent. That's the thing, us Americans like to do. We love to pretend we have a good Australian accent, and we do not. It's 1:30 p.m. down there in Sydney. Hopefully the weather is mighty fine. What season are you guys in, by the way? Let us know. Let's see. Because up here we are in rainy fall going into winter. Actually, I think it's the last night of daylight savings, right? I think we get to change our clocks back sometime tonight, middle of the morning. Isn't that right? Or am I making shit up? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. I'm hitting you guys up from the West Coast, so it's 7:30 p.m. my time. I know a lot of you guys are on the East Coast, so I appreciate you hooking up with me on these late Saturday nights. So I don't want to delay too much on the topic. We got to, because it's going to be a good one tonight. So last week we discussed. Well, last week was a special live stream because we discussed, it was Halloween, or it was the eve of Halloween, I should say. And so I put a Scream stream on, and the topic was hunting hunters. So last week we discussed stalker hunters and hunting hunters. And stalker hunters, if you don't know, are those hunters that sort of watch you from rooftops and kind of creep you out as you're controlling control points. In that live stream, though, the conversation came up, or it came to our attention, that all the hardest hitting weapons in the game have something in common. And it was sort of funny, but they all have wood. And so basically we determined, or maybe we're still determining, but if it has wood, chances are it's good. So we're gonna show you just what we mean in this stream. So as we're getting settled in, I just wanna let you know the gameplay you're watching here is actually of a new build that hasn't been released to the entire Division 2 community yet. This build is a classified build, so you are seeing, if you're not a member yet, then you're seeing a little bit of this classified build footage that once it matures, I will declassify it for all you folks. But classified builds, if you didn't know, are special secret builds made for just for Texas Players Club, True and Hardcore Bandito. This video to get access. So let's see who's here with us tonight. Welcome, Brandon. Glad you made it, and congratulations on the baby. All right, sounds like you're still in the hospital. So I'm sure you guys are excited to take that little, I believe it was a girl, home. So congrats to you and yours. A big day for you. Jonathan, welcome, brother. Welcome. Appreciate you, man. Antal, welcome back, brothers. Michael Myers, good to see you back. Yep. I think you were on that members stream when we were having this initial conversation, so glad you made it to this one. Dutchy, good to see you here. Marine Patriot, aka Fat Cat. All right, yeah. So Marine Patriot's in my clan, so welcome, brother. Welcome, Lorenzo from Serbia, Rock Creek, Serbia. Yeah, no, I play on the Xbox in case you didn't know. So Kai Sups asked if I'm playing on the PC. No, I play on the Xbox. And a lot of people wonder if that's the case because I create a lot of headshot builds, a lot of sniper builds, and that can be frustrating for console players. But I figured out how to get those headshots, and I know many of you have as well. But with Headhunter, you get a nice little kickback on your weapon handling once you get 1 or 2 headshot kills in. So makes it a lot easier. But anyways, I am an Xbox player, so it's getting dusty. I need to upgrade my Xbox here soon. All right, so let's get into this wood is good discussion. So if you're just tuning in, for you people, we are talking about the strongest weapons in the game, and they all have something in common. And I'll be going through these examples for you as we discuss each one. But what they have in common is they happen to all be made out of wood or have a wood component, a wood stock. And so what we're saying is that if you get a weapon drop in game and it's made out of wood, there's a good chance that it's good. And we'll discuss each one of these and exactly what we mean. So let me switch out of this gameplay here for a second and go to my character, and we'll talk about each one of these individually. And there's basically one per class, at least, as far as being probably the hardest hitting weapon in its class. And if for some reason the devs decided that, hey, we're gonna identify these by making them all out of wood, and they're all sort of kind of retro weapons, right? So let's get into the first one. So the first one I want to talk about is in the SMG class, and this is called the M1A. So let's inspect this bad boy. There you go. Oh, I got a skin on here, but let me take off the skin, and you can see that the M1A is made out of wood. So it's got 164,000 base damage. Now, keep in mind as we go through each one of these weapons, I don't have the build. I'm running just basically a generic all red build without any weapon damage modifiers, as well as, or the core weapon damage modifier. For example, I'm not running a Sokolov for this, which would make this stronger, which would give it a higher base damage, so you know. And it's like that, it's gonna be like that for all of these weapons, so realize that the weapon damage is probably actually a little bit higher than what you're seeing in this particular video, but just for ease of demonstration, it is what it is, the way I have this build set up. But it's just an all red build with crits, okay? And so this is the M1A SMG, 165,000 total base damage. That makes it the hardest hitting SMG in the game, as or the highest base damage SMG in the game, I should put. So the RPM tends to be low. That's sort of the pattern that this game gives you. The stronger the weapon, the lower the RPM, right? But it's got a nice size mag on it. It's got 50 rounds in the mag, and it comes, and the attributes are consistent with what you would expect with an SMG. But is anybody using this? By the way, let me know if you're using this. But the core attributes are, you know, you got your SMG damage, the crit chance, which is really helpful at 21%. And then for me, I like to put the damage to targets out of cover as my main secondary attribute. On most of my weapons, I do that actually. And I found that strained is really, 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 let me add one more, really good into this, in this weapon, because it's got a low RPM. That means it's taking you longer to pull through that entire 50 rounds. So you're sitting at that max 50% crit hit damage for a longer portion of your mag than if you were using a weapon with a higher RPM. And because the total base damage is so high on this weapon, 164,000, that's really high, guys. This hits harder than the Cold Relations, when Cold Relations is peaked. This gun, with the non-perfect version of Strained, it's harder than Cold Relations, which has the perfect version of Strained at 80% crit hit damage. So this one has 30% less crit hit damage, and it hits harder than Cold Relations. So just so you know, in the description of this video, of this live stream, I've already put links to recommended builds for each of these weapons. Now, it's not going to be for all of the weapons, because of some, to be honest, I just don't run, and I'll call those out. But a lot of these I do, and as I matured in the game, I discovered weapons just like this. So that's kind of an interesting fact. And so I don't know if you guys are the same, but at first I was, I'm a high RPM weapon guy, so I like the weapons like the Vector, right? Or the CTAR, Police M4. I mean, those are really fun weapons for me. I love my accuracy, so who doesn't, right? I love to land my shots. But as I matured in the game and as I was exploring new builds, stronger builds, but especially as I was getting into solo legendary, that changed a lot of things for me. It changed my perspective on my primary weapons specifically. And so as I was studying how to solo legendary by watching other solo legendary speedrunners that are all around the world, and everybody has somewhat of a consistent style, but there are small little nuances from one soloist to another. But what I picked up from one guy is he was using this M1928 as his secondary weapon on a Negotiator's Dilemma build, all reds with the Sacrifice. And if you know that chest piece, it has perfect glass cannon on it. But basically, he was using the Police M4 as his primary weapon, but when the Chungas or anybody would get within 10-15 meters from him, he would switch to this M1928 and they would just melt. And I was like, well, that's an interesting gun to use. It's one that we all have probably been throwing away. I had, that's for sure. I'd not been keeping this in my stash. And so I tried it out, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I see why he's using this. This thing is a freight train. So it's a freight train of an SMG. It's really steady. The accuracy is awesome. I actually can get more range out of it than a Vector because of its shooting pattern. But a lot of people stray away from it because it doesn't have any mods. It only has one mod slot. So, but you don't need those mods. Just get the crits on your build, and the base weapon damage is so high, those missing mods, aren't gonna matter. It makes up for it because of all the damage it puts out. So, anyways, that's how I've discovered the M1928, and I recommend it to you. And I have a link to a build video I created like 2 months ago or so. But the M1928, I got to crit at 2.8 million damage. Crit. 2.8 million. Think about that for a second. And the link to that video is in the description area below. So after this, you can check that out. But let's take a look at you guys' comments and see what you guys have to say. Pietro Nero, welcome to Tux's Players Club. He just joined. Tuxational supporter. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for supporting me and the channel. And basically the entire community, because that's what we do here is we keep the community alive. We're keeping the game alive, keeping you guys interested until that new content drops, which apparently is going to be in February. So appreciate you, Pietro. Also, another special shout out to GamerFuzz187. Welcome to Players Club as well. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for jumping in. Let's see what else we got here. Let's talk about those. Alex Volkov is watching UFC as he's watching the stream too. Funny, man. All you need is a steak and maybe a knife fight afterwards, huh? Keep that adrenaline up. Jonathan Nevitt mentions rock and roll, the AA-12 shotgun. Yeah, actually, so that's going to come up next. We're going to be, after we get through the SMGs here, we will be going into shotguns. So as another weapon that you might be familiar with is the Tommy gun. Is probably one that comes to mind. Sometimes it gets confused. People get confused on between the Tommy gun and the M1928 because they kind of look the same. So here's a close-up on the Tommy gun. So if we look at the, go back to the M1928, let's do a comparison view. So here's the Tommy gun and the M1928. So the Tommy gun is the one on the right. It's the equipped one, and the M1928 is the one on the left. So you can see that the M1928 is quite a bit higher in base damage. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's about 40,000 difference right there, almost. But what the Tommy gun brings is a higher RPM, and it's got the same mag size, and they both got the whole one mod thing. Or the Tommy gun might actually have one less mod, apparently. But either way, it doesn't matter. The Tommy gun, I've tried it. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think that it brings enough damage to the table to make it worth it. And it's got that barrel drum mag there, and that's not adding any rounds, so I don't really see the point. But the real reason why I didn't like it is that I felt like the handling wasn't really good on it. I'm sure you guys have had the same experience when you tried that thing out. So wasn't a big fan. But so let's move into the next class, since we were just about to talk about it, actually. So let's talk about shotguns. So one, wood is good, right? So another one to the table is the Boomstick. I'm sure you guys have had this drop plenty of times, and most of you probably don't use it. And I gotta admit, I'm one of those people. And I've tried from time to time. I've actually put it on some cowboy builds, kind of as a secondary weapon. And I'm so interested in this gun, though. So if you guys have a good build for this, definitely let me know what that is. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. But I feel like, I mean, there's a perfect version and there's a not. So this is the named perfect version, and then there's the other one as well. Here, and you know, the reload time isn't horrible on these, but it obviously only has 2 rounds. The damage is really high, but if you look at your total damages you would get out of that mag, you're gonna put out what, 2.8 million. Now again, this isn't fully optimized, but let's just call it 3 million in total damage. So that's not really enough to take down an NPC without multiple reloads, right? And you're going to get stronger with reloads, because it's going to give you 5% more weapon damage for 10 seconds every time you do. So you can get a lot of reloads in. But, you know, I don't know. That seems like a nuisance, right? But the thing is that I feel like it's better off as a, like a finisher weapon, right? So let's just say you're up against a couple NPCs and you exhaust your mag on your primary weapon. I feel like you're better off switching to this weapon to quickly finish him off with those 2 rounds, as you know, the enemy being right in your face. So like maybe as a backup to an SMG or an assault rifle or run and gun type build. I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts? But to me, this one isn't, you know, this one hasn't got me yet, so I haven't actually created a really good build for it. But it is no doubt one of the strongest shotguns with a base damage of 1.4 million. So it's made out of wood and it is good, but is it only as good as a secondary weapon? Could be. But I think the one that steals the class is going to be the Mossberg, the M870 Express. Now this one's a replica. Actually, to be honest with you, I have this gun, but it's just not the wood version of it. And so I quickly crafted one just for this demonstration. So it's not fully optimized, and I actually don't run it with strength. But this one's got a base damage of 1.6 million. That's really high, guys. Now, okay, this is one of those guns I graduated into as well. So I started with which one was it? The Super 90. And when I discovered that, I felt like, oh man, there's no better shotgun than that, right? And then I kind of went through my progressions. You guys have probably heard me say this before. You know, obviously the Scorpio, which is more of a specialized weapon, and actually when I use that, I like to play into the status effects more than I do the power, because it's just more interesting that way. But and then there's the Mop. Figured out how to use that, as well as the Tsunami. And then I determined the Tsunami, you know, with perfect pummel, this sort of doesn't make sense because the Tsunami has a fast reload anyways. So you're better off putting something like Optimus on that thing, in my opinion. But then I discovered the M870 Express, the M870. And my eyes opened again. I discovered this weapon personally, and it was one of those ones that I always trashed because, probably like you, the reload time is horrendous. Horrendous. I mean, let me scroll down. 2.8 seconds, and I have a 20% reload mod here, but that's, you know, not fun, right? It's because these are up close and personal builds, so you really want those, you know, 1.8 seconds or faster if you can. But yeah, so this thing, so how I learned about this particular beast was, again, doing the solo legendaries, and I was watching one fellow who was soloing Capitol building using Hunter's Fury, all red Hunter's Fury build, and he had the shotgun, the Scorpio shotgun in one hand, and he was using the M870 in the other, which I thought was really interesting. It caught my eye because I was like, well, that's different. I was like, this guy, listen to what I said, soloing capital building with shotguns on the Hunter's Fury. So Hunter's Fury is a really strong build, but a lot of people don't actually use it for Legendary because of the proximity you have to be for it to make sense, right? 15 meters, you gotta be in tight. And the problem with Legendary, especially Capital, is that they love to play deep, right? And so they'll push on you, but then they'll fall back, they play from cover, they play really deep, and they're really accurate from those distances. Shotguns are, and SMGs are really hard to use in Legendary strongholds. So when I see a guy barreling through record time capital building, I think he had a record time, it was like under 17 minutes or something like that, but with a Hunter's Fury build, you know, I'm impressed. I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna pay attention. And this is what I noticed. So he would use the Scorpio for the open field stuff, and then when he would push all the way up on that first checkpoint, for example, to the gates, right, and he'd get to those spawn doors, and then he would switch to the M870 and just stand there and 1-2 tap anything that comes out of that door. And that's what the M870 can do. You're gonna be able to 1-2 tap anything. The door. Oops, sorry about that. You're gonna be able to come 1-2 tap anything that comes outside of the spawn point. Anything in heroic is 1-2 tapping, and anything in legendary as well. So I took it to. So I created a build. It's called Shotguns Akimbo. It's also in the description area below. But I use the M870 as my primary weapon, and the rock and roll shotgun, as mentioned earlier by somebody in the feed, that I use that as my secondary weapon in case I come across a giant horde of enemies and I need that faster rate of fire. But and I ran a standard Hunter's Fury build with that as well, and just a blast. Had a blast with that thing. But this shotgun cannot be slept on. If you guys haven't used the M870, you need to use it. Now it's just a different style of play. It's a patience play. You got to have the patience to not spam the trigger. So when you step up to some enemies and you get in front of them, and you know there's a tendency to be like, holy shit, and the panic. But with the M870, it's important. It's one of those weapons that it's important that you feel the cadence of the kickback in the weapon. Wait for that barrel to drop, and then you hit the trigger again. Now it is so strong, the first shot you put out there will stagger that enemy, and that's why it's important. That's why you may or may not even need Hunter's Fury unless you're tackling big groups. It becomes very helpful. But when you come in front of an enemy and you hit him with that M870, it staggers them just long enough for the barrel to come down. You hit them with that second shot, they're dead. Right? You do that 3 times, and then pummel kicks in, reloads your weapon, gives you 40% more weapon damage, and then it takes one less round. Now you're 1-tapping fools and 2-tapping elites usually. So, and it's pretty consistent, and with legendary gameplay as well, you could take most elites down with 1 to 3 shots. So, love it, love it, love it. It's a great shotgun. Definitely recommend it. So let's see what you guys have to say. Lambs Imco says, could you please repost the build you're showcasing? So the build I'm showcasing has been dubbed Limitless. Okay, so if you guys have been following my channel for a while, many of you have, I recognize many of you here, as well as the Texas Players Club members, who, if you don't know who they are identified by the different colored skulls next to their names in the chat. Those are Players Club members. But if you've been following my channel for a while, then you know that I've been creating a series of hybrid DPS builds, right? Where I try to find the perfect balance between ballistic skills, which are your turret and your drones, skills that put out bullets, right? And the primary weapon. So I try to find builds that create the perfect balance. And I do a lot of these, make a lot of these strong enough to solo legendary. And the way I feel, and what I feel is that if you can solo legendary with these builds, then you can run them in group, and obviously they will destroy heroic. So that's the point of that, because I know a lot of you guys don't solo legendary. It's a pain in the ass, I get that. totally get that. So it's mostly just to showcase how strong the build is. But yeah, so we had a series of these. Slaughter was one that really made its mark first, right? If you guys recall Slaughter, it uses probably some of the strongest pieces in the game, all hacked into a skill build to give you amazing survivability, get out of cover, and to complete legendary checkpoints really quickly, solo or in group. It's a great build. One of my favorites, one of my greatest. It's got the it's certified tuxational, so definitely check out Slaughter if you haven't. And then I created a build called This Build Has Juice, which is the Hunter's Fury build that I hacked into a skill build. So it's got 6 skill tiers, and this was put out a couple of months ago, by the way. So it's called This Has Juice, and that's really good, especially if you're soloing legendary, because you have to the more aggressive you are when you're soloing legendary, the better you're off. So when you get in front of those spawn doors, you know, that staggering effect it gives you is really nice. And then I came out with what came out next? Game Over, where I hacked a Foundry, 4-piece Foundry set into a skill build, and that thing was just, I threw my controller and I pretty much said, okay, it can't get any better than this. Game over. It was so amazing, because basically to be able to spend that much time out of cover soloing legendary, it's just, you know, your jaw just hits the floor. So you become speechless when you try that build. And then after that, I came out with another one called The Perfect Blend. And that was basically a crossover between Game Over, which is the Foundry build, and oh wait, did I miss one? Anyways, it's basically a crossover build. Oh no, the Perfect Blend is the right one. So it's a 4-piece striker. And so what that does was what Perfect Blend does is give your primary weapon just an overcharge, basically, because I'm using a 4-piece striker, which gives the build itself 50% amplified damage, up to 50% amplified damage when you stack. And the RPM is a multiplicative stat, so what that does to the capacitor is make it really powerful. And so it achieved what we're always trying to accomplish, which is trying to make the primary weapon as strong as possible. So, and then I came out with this one, which is called Limitless. And so basically, Limitless is, if you like the Game Over build, which there hasn't been a person that hasn't liked it, so you will like Game Over build if you haven't tried it. But what this build does, Limitless, is it has an incredibly fast armor regeneration rate, which means that you can which means you have a lot of confidence to get out of cover and to stay out of cover. But what makes it stand apart from Game Over, the build you're watching, is that the weapon damage, because we're not using the Foundry set, we have a lot more slots, and I was able to dedicate those to speccing in more weapon damage. So you got a really strong weapon, so you can get out of cover more and kill faster than with the Foundry build. Now, Foundry has a faster recovery. The Game Over build does have a faster recovery, and so you lose a little bit of that in exchange for the weapon damage here. But I think it's really well balanced, and you'll like it. So my point is, though, is that this is a classified build, and as I mentioned, classified builds are secret builds made just for Texas Players Club. You have to be a true or hardcore Bandito member level to get these, so keep that in mind. But there are thank yous, so these are extra builds I create on top of the builds I put out to YouTube. So these builds do eventually get released to the greater YouTube community once they mature. So if you are not able to join Texas Players Club, that's okay. You will eventually see these builds. And don't worry, I'm going to keep you busy with plenty of other builds in the meantime. So as a matter of fact, I got another build coming out on Monday that's pretty OP, and that will compete with basically all the other ones I put out as far as skill builds go. So I look forward to that. But good question. Appreciate that, man. Jonathan Nevitt says the custom M870 MCS is my all-time favorite shotgun. That thing is a speeding freight train. Yep. Spoken like a true experienced man, Jonathan Nevitt. I appreciate that comment, man. Again, you're probably deleting this shotgun. You probably are. So, you know, if that's you, you know, next time you get this drop, you know, stick with it. Don't trash it. You're gonna love it. So, but yeah, but I get why you delete it, because you know that that reload time on paper looks pretty horrendous, but put pummel on it and reload is not an issue because you have the power to get that kill, and which is gonna refill your mag, so you don't even have it. It's instant refill, so you don't have to worry about that. Marine Patriot, welcome, brother. I appreciate your support, man. That's really nice. Welcome to Texas Players Club. Appreciate that, brother. The not so, am I going to say this? Not so smart Ken. Love that name, man. It takes me a second to get through it, but I like it. The not so smart Ken. Welcome, brother. Welcome to the live stream. Late night with Tux. It's Saturday night. Michael Myers says Hunters is good in raids too when spawn camping. Totally true. Yeah, that burst damage makes a lot of sense. You know, makes a lot of sense. I mean, with shotguns as well. You know, pairing it up with shotguns. You know, just Hunters and shotguns. I think if you're just sitting there and your job is to kill 3 NPCs that come out of a door periodically, doesn't sound that challenging when you pair it up with something like the Mossberg shotgun, the M870. So consider that. Consider that. Hopefully you run with clans or raid groups that give you the power to experiment a little bit with your builds. Let's see what Pietro Nero says. Totally enjoy your builds and explanations. Also great movie clips. Glad to join your club. Keep up the great work. Aw, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Shucks. Ultra Mega Man says, I just finished putting Limitless together today. It's like a 2.0 version of Slaughter. Oh, you see it more like Slaughter. Okay. Perfect blend is king. Yep, love that. And the Contender, you missed. Oh, I didn't mention Contender. Yeah, shoot. Yeah. Contender was another build I created after Balls Out. So it came Slaughter, Juice, Balls Out, and then Contender. Thank you, Ultra Mega Man. Appreciate that, brother. Glad I have you loyal guys to catch me there. Help me out. But yeah, so the Contender came out was a 4-piece True Patriot hacked into a skill build. Now, because the True Patriot has that added amplified damage, and then I'm running more amplified damage on the chest piece with that one, I believe. You know, and it doesn't discriminate between your primary weapon and your skills. Everything is getting that added amplified damage. So even your teammates when you're running in team. So, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's a solid build. Solid build. But yeah, that one's on the list too. All of these you guys got to try. You got to try them all. They all have a place in your slots, but ultimately you are gonna have one that's your favorite. And for me, at the moment, I probably would call it the Perfect Blend. I think that's my favorite because just the RPM and the amp damage on the capacitor is just really amazing. It makes that gun feel really good. As a matter of fact, like when you're not running that build, but you're running a capacitor build, you're kind of like, oh, it just feels a little underwhelming because that build ruins it for you. So maybe you shouldn't use that build because it'll ruin all other builds, your taste for any other build afterwards. So Lorenzo Hernandez says, I've been looking for a good shotgun. Well, then definitely grab the M870. That's one of my favorites. Michael Myers says, I'm still using the Endless Blind build, great support build. Yeah, and that came up in our last Saturday, where I was showing footage of me taking on Hunters, and I used the Max Blind build. That's what he's talking about. It's called Max Blind. Against Hunters, it works really well. You keep them in a permanent status effect, so your team or yourself can mow them down. And when you have them in that chain of status effects, basically they cannot disable your skills. So they do disable your skills right when they spawn, but you get that back in a couple of seconds. And I usually hit them with a fire grenade anyways, just to set it off. And then once you get your skills back, it's just, they're done. They're paralyzed. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the next weapon in our arsenal that is made of wood, so it's got to be good. And this one is the named version of the 1886, and it is called the Virginian. If you don't have this gun, it's probably because it's a DZ exclusive, and so this does not drop in the open world. You can get it from named item caches though. So if you want this gun and you're not a DZ player, then farm named item caches, and the best way to do that is by taking advantage of the events like the one that's going on now, which is called Hollywood, and those events give you red stars, which you can spend to buy named item caches, and it costs 8 red stars to do that. So what I recommend you do is farm the hell out of these events and buy at least 20 named item caches, and then open them all up at once. That's my strategy. And when I do, I just get 3. I usually get 3 or 4 really interesting, keepable things. I definitely get 20. I don't get 20, but I get a high number of great things. But I think I determined about 60% on average of what I get out of these named item caches end up being DZ exclusive items. Now I have a video called Get Unlimited Dark Zone Gear Without Stepping 1 Foot in the Dark Zone. There's a video called that, and if you want to see my strategy on how I get all of my Dark Zone weapons, then you need to watch that one. As a matter of fact, I got this weapon that you see, this particular Virginian and multiple others, from named item caches, and it came to me God rolled, I believe, or really close to it. But it's an amazing weapon, and as soon as I got it, I created a build for it. And so that build is called the Virginian, and I have a link to it in the description area below, and you must see it. It took off. It was sort of a fan favorite, so when I posted that video, everybody was like, yeah, I need to go get the Virginian. And you do. It is a headshot build. That's the best way to run the Virginian in my opinion, but it runs perfect boomerang, and you're gonna one-tap elites on heroic with this particular build. Now, I use it as a heroic build. I don't think I would run it in legendary, not seriously at least. Maybe in the summit, but not in strongholds. It wouldn't be that fun. But great for heroic content, especially when you're doing control points. Just a lot of fun to one-tap heroic elites with this thing, and it's just headshot kill, headshot kill, headshot kill. So it's sort of like a sniper that way. So perfect boomerang gives you, well, let's just read it. Critical hits have 75% chance to return that bullet to the mag, right? So max crits, you're gonna max your crits. So when you crit, which is 60%, each bullet, remember, each bullet has a 60% chance to crit. And when it does, that bullet's gonna return to your mag. So it's sort of like lucky shot, right? So really helpful for weapons with small mags, boomerang. Anyways, 75% chance. It's really high, guys. So if a bullet is returned to the magazine, the next shot has a 50% increased damage. Okay, so that's a ton. So pair that up with Headhunter and just imagine what the damage is. And that's why the weapon is so powerful. Now it is guns like this that people often, when I put out builds like this, people often ask me, oh, PC play, or say they say PC players, that's why you run this gun, because I'm on a console and it sucks for headshots. But I'm an Xbox player. And aim assist, which is built into the Xbox, it's in there, into the game, really. Not in the Xbox, it's into the game, built in as a standard setting. What happens is when you're running Headhunter, when you get your first technically every headshot kill increases your weapon handling. So aim assist kicks in a little stronger. Now this doesn't say this anywhere in the game, okay? So this is just experience talking. But with Headhunter, each kill increases your weapon handling. So the next kill becomes easier to get, the next headshot kill. And the next headshot kill after that becomes easier than the last one, and so on and so forth. And I think it tops out between 3 and 4 headshot kills. And so you're going to run this with sharpshooter specialization, which is also going to give you better handling, faster target acquisition. Anyways, all of that, it makes it a lot easier. And I don't land every headshot. It's all about getting that first headshot kill, and then from there, you'll start chaining them. They just sort of line up for you. It just happens. So, but it still takes practice. You got to line up your reticle before you pop out of cover. But before we jump into the next section, I just want to show you the non-named version of this. So here's a couple of non-named versions. Let's look at this one. So here's a perfect version. The total base damage is 745. So just so you know, the 1886 is the strongest weapon in its class when it comes to total base damage. So 745,000. It's a little bit higher than that when I have this maxed out and with the right settings on the specialization. And of course, you'd want to run Fox's Prayers with this as well. That works out really well. And then I have Red Preservation, so as a talent on this particular version. But so this is the non-named Virginian. So if you don't have the Virginian, just use the 1886 and put on Boomerang. And I think it's 50%. Is that right? Is that the number? Boomerang gives you 50% chance to get the bullet back if you crit. So still really good. Still really good. But otherwise, you need to farm the DZ or those named item caches to get the Virginian. So, has anybody tried that Virginian build? Let me know if you have. I really like it. I actually love my headshot builds. They're one of my favorite build series. I got a lot of them. The Virginian, of course, like I said, of course, is in the description area, the link to that build video. So you're going to want to check that out as well. If you like rifles, then the 1886 is one that you need to run. It's more fun than the M1A as well. It takes a little more patience, a little more skill, but it's a lot more rewarding, in my opinion. And you want to kind of play it close too. It's not one you play at real far distances, like 15 to probably 25 meters is a good place, so you kind of want to pull in. But I use it as a run and gun. I run and gun with it, I run and gun with it. And I like guns, just like the M870. It's a one shot, and then you can reload. So you can take a shot, reload, take a shot, reload. You don't have to wait until your mag is exhausted and then reload the entire thing, which is painfully slow. There's also the an exotic version of this, right? Can anybody tell me what the name of that exotic is? It's one that's not used very often. So you can get that first. What is the exotic version of the 1886? Who's got the name of that exotic? So let's see what Bangabelli TV has to say. Bro, I made your optimized legendary deflector shield build with the M1928 and Tsunami and never looked back. Thanks for the in-depth videos. Oh yeah, that's cool, man. So yeah, that's actually really cool, especially if you use the deflector kind of in short bursts, which it sounds like you're doing because you paired it up with two really good weapons. So I would guess that you're using the deflector build to pull in close to legendary enemies, and when you're there, you maybe pop into cover and whip out those really powerful guns and mow them over. And then if they start to encroach on you or flank you, then you pull out your deflector shield to get in a better position or kill them. I bet you that's what you're doing. That's what it sounds like just based on your comment. And yeah, props, man. That's actually it's a really intense gameplay style that you're doing there. Exhilarating, right? It's exhilarating, I guess is the better way to say it. So yeah, I bet you are having a lot of fun, man. Appreciate your support. Every time you guys try my builds, you are supporting the channel, supporting me, and thus you're supporting the community, because that's what I do. I look to keep you guys up, excited, and going. If I am not entertaining, informing, and inspiring you in every single video, then be sure to punch me in the side of the head, because I have a screw loose. Jonathan Evans says, I wish I had slots for all those builds and all the ones I'm working on myself. I know what you mean. They increased it, right? We were at 12 and they increased it to 16 loadout slots per character. And it did help, but, when your inventory is only at 150, then, it only helps so much, right? Did they increase that at the same time? I can't remember. Did they give us a little increase? Was it like 125 and then they boosted it to 150? I feel like they didn't do that. I think they just gave us the loadout slots. But look at this little series here where I'm just wailing on these guys. Right as they spawn. I should rewind that just a tad bit so you can see that again. Let me drop this back because that's really interesting. This is a good showcase of the build right here. So check out, as I'm talking here, check out this quick, little spawn camping. But it's showing you, what I'm demonstrating here is how powerful both the skills are. So watch, as I turn around, I pick up these, that's the idea. So turn around, that fire lady's dead, right? The flamethrower lady. And so she died, that was a split second. She died fast, really fast. And why did she die fast? Because I grabbed that trophy. She would have died quick, but when I grabbed that trophy, it was like instant death, right? Now, that's the point of the game over build. That's the point of this build called Limitless. And I hope you guys become true Bandito member levels if you're not, so you can check this build out sooner than later. But the point of these particular types of builds is to get out of cover. Not to be a crazy loco pollo, not to be a crazy pollo loco, right? And to run around with your head cut off. But I do it so that you can take advantage of those trophies. Now, a lot of people will run the memento, but their build doesn't allow them to get out of cover, and so they're playing from cover, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you have to collect all those trophies at the end of your engagement, right? And then you move on to the next battle, and you got a full backpack, and that's really helpful. But if any build that can take advantage of the short-term buffs of the backpack, of the memento trophies, the short-term buffs, the ones that expire after 5 seconds after you grab that trophy, any build that can take advantage of those is going to be OP. There's just nothing stronger than those trophies for 5 seconds. Because let's just look at the damage. The weapon damage, right? When you grab a trophy, it's going to give you 5% weapon damage per red core you have. The memento gives you 1 red core. So if you got 6 red cores, and I just put out a 6 red core memento trophy build, right? With 1 million armor, by the way. That gives you 30% weapon damage each time you grab the trophy. So I grab that trophy, big burst in weapon damage. That's just about as strong as it gets in the game. Strong as it gets in the game. So, and then when you grab 2 or 3 or 4 trophies, because you got multiple kills next to each other, you become a god. And that's basically the idea of these builds, is to get out of cover and go from one trophy to the next. That's the concept. One trophy to the next. So, anyways, try these builds. Slaughter is the same way. Slaughters, they're all running the memento for the most part so far. And the future hybrid builds that I have coming out over the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to see the change in that. These builds are actually configured differently and don't use the memento. And this came up on Discord today. I actually try not to use the memento every time. It's the last backpack I go to, not the first backpack. Even though I have a hunch at my work, I do try other options first, and the memento just ends up winning out as best in slot for these backpacks, for these skill hybrid builds, because of course of what they bring, which is that skill tier alone makes it worth it. But they also give you a little added armor, and I'm always trying to bring that weapon into balance, and that extra red core really helps as well. So that's how that plays out, so you know. Jonathan never got it. Well, let's see, maybe somebody got it first. Alex Volkov, the Diamondback. Good job. That's right. That's exactly right. So the Diamondback is the exotic version of the 1886. Now, how that one works is it basically gives you all the crit chance that you need, so you don't have to run crits on your build. Basically, if you tag the highlighted target that the exotic highlights for you, then you're going to have an automatic crit on that. So all you need to do is spec in the crit damage. And I think it might give you crit damage on kills. Well, I can't remember exactly. Somebody stick that in the feed if you know what the details are, but I just don't have it in front of me. But Jonathan got it as well, and so did Rick. It looks like you guys all got that back to back. So close. So Sentry and Mena Whitbeck all called it the Virginian, but no, that's the named version of 1886. Close. Base Connor got it right too. Diamondback, very good. TJ Combo says bonjour from Belgium. Bonjour, brother. I have no idea what time it is over there, but I have an idea. I'm thinking you're probably 12 hours ahead of us, so must be 9 in the morning or something like that. Let me know if I got anywhere close. Hey, be sure you also like this video and hit a comment in the comments section that's actually below the video, not just the chat feed. That really helps this video catch fire, and as far as the algorithm, and helps the channel get discovered as well. If you don't have anything interesting to say, don't worry. Just hit me up in the comments with the hashtag TuxLive. That's good enough. Michael Myers says the Diamondback during Golden Bullet event is seriously OP, which reminds me, so the devs said that after Season 7, which we're in right now, so we're in the tail end of Season 7, I think we have at least one more event. Well, technically 2. I think we're going to have another League event, and then I think we confirmed in our stream on Thursday night that the next global event after that is going to be Reanimated. And but anyways, after these events expired, they were gonna put out another, I guess, makeshift season from our favorite global events. So what I'm interested in seeing is whether they get our favorite global events right. What are our favorite global events? What are your favorite global events? Is Golden Bullet one of them? Let us know. Let us know what global events we should be looking forward to in that makeshift season that's going to come in what looks like December. So, Golden Bullet is fun. What do you guys think about Hollywood? So, Hollywood event is going on right now. Are you a fan? Let me know. And then I'm going to circle back on that in just a second because I have some comments about it. I have some thoughts. What are yours? Okay, let's get into the next weapon in the same class. And you could probably guess on what it is. It is the M1A. You recognize that beast? Yes. Now this is actually the named version of the M1A, which is called the Baker's Dozen, and it comes with Perfect Lucky Shot, which allows you to span headshots. So the M1A is the second hardest hitting rifle in the game, but when loaded out correctly, this makes the strongest build in the game in regards to DPS. So I'm sure you guys know that. This is nothing new. It's been around probably since the beginning of the game, basically. And they've actually nerfed this weapon a little bit. So it did used to be stronger than what you see here. Right? And this isn't topped out. I'm not running boxes prayers on this build, as you can see. I might have a rifle spec, but I don't think I have rifle spec on my skill tree for technician. So this can get stronger. Now, actually, the non-named version is stronger than Baker's Dozen because Baker's Dozen doesn't have a damage talent, a modifier to it. It just gives you an extra round. But if you run like something like in sync, then you're going to get that 30% additional weapon damage. You know, if you're running a skill or something like that. So, yeah. So if you are running this, I recommend you put something on, you know, like Ranger or you know, in sync or, you know, whatever else. Depends. Boomer, you can even go boomerang, but it just depends on what your build is, really. But you know, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? It's a prescribed build. You know, again, it's an oldie but goldie, I guess you would say. It's a prescribed build, mostly I would say for newbies. I mean, most of us have evolved from this. You guys still using the standard M1A build? I know in many cases, if you're a raider, you can't get in a raid without this build, which kind of sucks because it's from like what, 1982? I'm just kidding, but I'm not kidding. I think this build is extremely boring. This is me, okay, guys? You might love this, so sorry if you do. But yeah, I think it's just not exciting to run the M1A, but it does the job. Actually, at range, it doesn't. I feel like it misses a lot of shots, and when you only have 15 in the mag, it's painful. Because if you look at the reload, 2.7 seconds. Ouch, right? Yuck, on 15 rounds. And so, but in the testing range, it looks really nice when you're standing in front of a target, just and you don't miss a shot. Yeah, your DPS is freaking awesome, right? But in the real world, where you got legendary foes ducking and diving and yawing and everything else that they do, it doesn't feel that good. It doesn't feel that good, especially at range, because this is a rifle, so you want to play at range, and you know, it's hard to get them. It's hard to see them. It almost needs tracers. Shit, that would help. So I put on the ACOG scope. I feel like that kind of improves the situation a little bit. And again, it takes you away from your crit chance. You don't have a full set of mods on this, but as you can see, you're missing one in the burrow. But either way, it's got a really high base damage, and the RPM is at just that figure that if you do have this on an all red build, then you are going to have the strongest DPS build in the game. So I don't know. Has anybody discovered a stronger DPS build than this? You know, is there another weapon combo set, or is there anything that you've put together that has outperformed this? I have one. You know what it is? It's the Mantis, actually, for me. And for you, it might be the Nemesis. But there's nothing more efficient than one shot, one kill. Way faster than the M1A. Way faster. Yeah, a lot. Oh, good. Jonathan brings up. I run the M1A CQB as my secondary on your sniper build. Looks like for my up close encounters because of the faster fire rate. Yeah, actually, a lot of people migrated over to the M1A CQB. It's basically the same thing. It's got a high. I mean, it's got a higher RPM. I think the mag size is about the same, right? And then the total damage goes down a little bit, but it's a lot faster. I think the handle is a little bit better too, right? As far as that, the bounce on the barrel is a little smoother. So, anyways, but if you're just starting for the game, you know, you probably should put together this build so you know what it feels like to wield that power, and then as you learn to create your builds, or what builds you want to have and you see them being developed by other content creators out there or myself, then you kind of know what max damage should feel like and how far that build strays from it and whether it's good for you or what you can do with it. But yeah, so I feel like so when this build was top tier, you got to remember, well, it still hits the hardest, so I'm not saying it doesn't, but when it was popular, I should say. When this build was really popular, a lot of people didn't have all the options that we have now. We have so many more things to play with. Like the Memento came out after this, the Capacitor came out after this, all these other weapons came out after this, the Backfire and all this other stuff. Some of them are yay, some of them are nay, but we've evolved. The game has evolved, and I believe that what the devs were trying to show us is that, hey, the min-max thing, you don't want to, use that in every situation. That survivability or a balanced build is a good way to go, right? It's a good way to go. It's going to end up being more fun, and that's what I find. Actually, having a more balanced build ends up being a little bit more fun because it's not fun when you can't stick your head out without losing all of your armor, and that's what happens when you run an all red build with glass cannon like I have here. When you do stick your head out, whether on legendary, heroic, whether you're playing solo or in group, one bullet, and you end up literally one bullet, a single round hits you, and you're about ready to use an armor kit because you just lost all of your armor, right? The enemy, so look, I have 726,000 armor, right? The enemy hits harder than 726,000, even on heroic. They hit harder than you, and they're tankier than you. They have way tankier than you, okay? So do you really want to be running around with an M1? I don't. I'm just, but these guys have, like, when you come across a named boss in heroic, you're looking at 17 to 25,000 in armor. That's what they have. 17 to 25,000 in armor. And they're hitting harder than you are. So this build's probably critting at, 3.4, 3.6, I don't know exactly, but over 3 million. And it's critting over 3 million. And the enemy's hitting harder than you. Well, let's just see. Am I in the testing range? I am. So, again, it's not fully optimized, but let's just switch this to invulnerable elite. Let's put the close range to see our damage numbers, and then 9 crit, so critting at 2.6 million. That's a glass cannon. I don't have vigilance on. That's right. I'm not running vigilance, so I don't have the backpack on. But so yeah, this is over 3 million. So without vigilance, I'm at 2.5. Vigilance is going to increase that by 25%, and I believe it's total weapon damage, which is a multiplicative type. And I'm not running Fox's prayers either. If I was, it would be stronger. So yeah, this is definitely over 3 million if I had this build optimized. So, yeah, so they're hitting harder than you. You do it, so they're stronger and they hit harder. So that's why balanced builds are important. If you had armor regen, you don't have to worry about your armor as much. You can take some damage, survive, keep going. But if you run out of med kits, then you're cowering and you're hiding, and it makes you really, really vulnerable, right? So anyways, but it is a recommended build. If you are new to the game, you need to wield that power. You need to know what it feels like. You need to start there. And if you are doing raids, there's many clans and raid groups that won't let you in unless you have the M1A build. But either way, it doesn't lie. It's made out of wood. It's one of the strongest weapons in the game. It's OP. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. If it's wood, it's good. And that gun is probably the definition of if it's wood or good. They calls it out. So far we've seen the M1928 made out of wood. It's good. Recommended by TUX. The Tommy gun made out of wood. It's meh. I don't recommend it. But either way, we got our SMG class. We have the M870 shotgun, 1.6 million base damage. Run that with pummel. It's wood. It's good. Boomstick, double barrel shotgun, great finisher weapon. As a secondary weapon, it's good, especially if you're a DZ player. Think about that. The 1886 Virginian, the strongest hitting weapon in its class. 1886 is the lever actioned, so it's made out of wood. It's good. Try the 1886 and the name version Virginian, and there's also the Diamondback. And then of course this is the M1A, which makes the best DPS in the game when it comes to just raw power. It's prescribed build for noobers, and if you're doing raids, you're probably gonna need to have that in your loadout. So if it's wood, it's good. That's what we've done so far, and we got more. So hang with us and let's see what we have in the comments. Lou Mertz, welcome, brother. Welcome. Tux Live. Thanks for the hashtag there. Hey, guys, if you can, make sure you hit me up in the comments section down below. And if you don't have anything special to say, don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Just hit me up with the Tux Live in the comment sections. And be sure to like this video. Also, if you didn't say hello, Bandito, who's AKA Latina, is in the feed. So be sure you say hi to her. She manages the community for me. And as well the Discord. So if you are in Discord, you do know Latina, aka Bandito. Dean, what's up, brother? Good to see you back. I'm always saving people that run all red builds, he says. Hi from Western Canada. No. Oh, I didn't know you were in Western Canada. Did I know that? Are you in DC? I'm in Portland, so I'm a West Coast guy. I'm in Portland, Oregon. So we're probably in the same time zone at least. Unless you're in mountain time. I don't know. There we go. I was looking for these comments. Let's see if we asked whether what you guys thought about Hollywood. So Rico Merter says he likes Golden Bullet and Reanimated. I love both of those. And I think that's how these global events should be. Where they should buff you but not take things away, right? And Golden Bullet and Reanimated do those things. The enemy is super strong, right? When he loads that Golden Bullet, ouch, look out. And Reanimated, of course, brings double the enemies to you. So, but at the same time, when you get the perk on your side, those, they really work in your favor, right? So I see that we just got a big jump in new people joining the live stream. So if you are just now joining us, know that today's topic is, if it is wood, it is good. So we're talking about the strongest weapons in the game, and if it has wood, chances are it's good and probably the strongest weapon in its class. We're going through the list, and so far we've done SMGs, shotguns, and rifles, and we're gonna be going through the rest, so hang with us as we do our strong weapon countdown. So let's see here. Michael Meyer says, I like Reanimated when the green cloud causes damage to you, but they changed it when the summit came out. Yeah, that's right. They changed a lot of the events. Some of them didn't give you any buffs, and then they changed that. But I like it. I like it the way it is, actually, Reanimated. Reanimated is one of my favorites of all of them. And I love running my headshot builds with that because it improves your weapon handling and you just kind of like on fire with your headshot kills. I do have recommended builds for Reanimated, which is in, I believe, 2 weeks from Tuesday, or a week from Tuesday. It should be kicking in. And check out the Mantis build. It's called Death Dealer, and also the other one called Skull Crusher that uses the Regulus. Both of those are headshot type builds. The Virginian build would also work, the one called the Virginian. But try any of those builds for Reanimated. Anything with a headshot build focus is going to be a lot of fun. Also, Decapitator, a really good build. I'm going to talk about that one in a second when we get to it. So, Alex Volkov says, I prefer Guardians over Hollywood. and I ain't kidding. Yeah, why don't you like Hollywood? Anybody else got any comments on Hollywood? But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Guardians either because, you know, same thing, it slows you down. And I got things to do, people. I'm trying to run content, not take an hour on the control point. But I hear you, brother. I hear you. He also says ASHD Exposed is a favorite overall. Golden Bullet buffs, normal enemies to heroic. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. You got a good point. It does make those enemies pretty damn strong. But once you get that Golden Bullet, yep, you're on fire. G-Man 1024 says, Tux, I let Pure Prime know that his latest never before seen build was a variant of the Contender. You changed the title after. I sent him the link to your build. His friend didn't invent. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for you guys looking out. You know, and I know, you know, I like to create original builds. I do. And I'm not against recycle builds. I brought this up in another stream. I'm not. And they're important, especially because we have a lot of new players coming in to the game. But I do appreciate it when people give me credit for a build if they did happen to see it. But we don't know, right? Maybe he didn't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and he thought he was coming up with something original. But it's always good to check. I do, right? When I put out a good build, I'm kind of curious to know if somebody else had created this, so I can claim it as the first ever on YouTube, right? Now, who's to say somebody didn't create, and probably somebody did, right? Somebody created a true Patriot skill build on their own, you know, just a player, not a content creator, not a YouTuber, right? And he just, you know, obviously he's not going to create a build video about it because he doesn't do that, but, you know, so there's a possibility somebody created that out there. But sometimes I create these builds that I will say that there is no way this build has been created before. And the reason why is because the single piece, there's one or two pieces on this build are so unique on a combination of a build that is also really unique that it is the odds of somebody coming up with this build before me are extremely rare. Like, for example, the build where we had like the golden Hollow Man mask with the golden death grip gloves, right? Like, that's just like really rare combo. The odds of somebody having that on their build is really low in the first place. And then to pair it up with something like a Foundry build, all gold, or a Striker build, all gold, whatever. It's just like, yeah, no, it hasn't been created before. I'm pretty confident in that, you know. But it's okay, you know. People are gonna duplicate builds on purpose or not, and it's just gonna happen and whatever. But it's, but you know, I do think that, you know, credit should be given where credit exists, and you know, but we don't know. We don't know if a content creator actually saw my video or not. So. But they should be doing their due diligence, especially if they're going to claim that it is the first ever. If you're going to claim that, you should do your due diligence. And it was an accident. I'm sure it was an accident. He didn't mean any harm. So, but I appreciate you guys always watching my back. And, you know, there are some, I'm not going to call any names, but there is a particular content creator, if that's what we want to call him out there, who does steal my content on a regular basis. And it's pretty obvious. But he doesn't just steal my content. He steals everybody's content. But moving on, because that is not the subject of our stream. Appreciate you, G-Man. Thanks, brother. Keep up the good work. Jonathan Nevin says, I run M1A CQB at my second... Okay, we went there. Anthony says, Hollywood is a chore as there's only disadvantages you have to deal with and no upside in terms of damage or effects. That said, I really like the freeze frame effect of killing ads with explosions. Hey, okay, that's an effect? Anthony? I thought that was a glitch. Did anybody else think that was a glitch? I thought it was a game glitch. That's funny. I don't. Does anybody know what we're talking about? Anthony, just wow, I didn't think of that. That's funny that you brought it up. I must have missed that detail if that's the case. Can anybody confirm or deny what Anthony is saying here? But have you noticed when you blow up an enemy, when the event is turned on, they kind of like, they're in super slow motion in mid-air as they fall, and I thought it was a game glitch, like there's some sort of lag just in my experience or in everybody's experience, but it was a glitch. But Anthony is suggesting that that's intentional, which I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, it's probably intentional. Is that the case? Didn't I just miss that? But I did think it was cool. I did think it was cool too. And you're right, it's probably only this event. Yeah, but I've definitely seen a couple of cases over the last couple of days I've been playing when that happened, I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, I gotta record that. But I was thinking it was a glitch. But yeah, so let me just get my feedback on Hollywood, and we'll move on to the next subject. So here's the deal. I was talking to a clan member the other day, and he brought up that he plays with his buddy all the time in a lot of games, but his buddy doesn't play the Division. And I asked him, I was like, why does your friend not play the Division? The Division 2. I was like, God, it's the greatest game, and you guys are like-minded. So how did you guys stray apart there? Because this is obviously a good game, right? And you guys are like-minded. And he said, well, he just doesn't like how tanky the NPCs are. It just doesn't like that part of the game. And that's not the first time I've heard that, right? And so what Hollywood does, there's no doubt that these guys are tanky. And what Hollywood does is make them tankier, right? You can still kill them without disrupting their shields, but it takes a lot. And it's forcing you to use skills or your special weapons, which you never do. But it wants you to use pulses and stuff like that, and it kind of sucks as it's forcing you to use a particular skill. But either way, it makes them tankier than what they are, and that's a horrible idea. That's horrible. There's one thing if they were stronger or faster or whatever, but tankier, that's the last thing we need. Whoever came up with the Hollywood idea should be on job probation, or he should be taken off of. He's probably the same guy that came with the healer traps. he's filled with all sorts of great ideas, right? But what a horrible idea to make enemies tankier. So this is the deal. The objective of any game development company or developer is to get people to spend more time on the game, to play the game longer. In order to do that, there has to be a balance in how much content they're clearing in a single session. So if an average player comes to the Division 2 and plays 3 hours at a time, then he's going to want to see a certain amount of progress within those 3 hours, because we only have limited gaming time. So if we don't clear as much content, if we don't collect as much loot as we objectively want to, or what our goal is, or whatever we define as a positive experience, then we're having a negative experience, obviously, right? And that's what Hollywood does. It slows you so this is the deal. I played Hollywood the first day, and it slowed me down so much. And I like to go fast. I need to clear content. I need to get gear. I'm creating builds, or I just want to have fun. Either way. But I'm trying to get those red stars because I, too, like to farm named item caches. But the content it slows you down so much because of how tanky the enemies are. And I don't want to run a pulse. That's not the build I'm running. I don't want to. Don't force me into a build, right? And it slows you down so much. I mean, I cleared like 10 control points, and it's just like it took forever, and I didn't have the amount of red stars that I would hope to have, And so I was like, yeah, I get open like one cache or something like that. It's like all of that work to get one named item cache, and then I got something stupid like the stoner, right? This is like disappointment. We want to go through content quickly. And so when you put on a global event, you need to be buffing us so that we go faster, so that we get more rewards. That's the goal. More rewards. Yes, we want to be challenged. I agree. But the Hollywood holds us back. It takes something that we all already complain about in the game and makes it worse. And I think it's a horrible event. And I don't want this to turn into a rant session, an angry rant session, but that's just my thoughts on this particular event. And there's a couple of them that are like that, and I don't play them. So we played Legendary yesterday. I played with some clan members, and we had it on, and it was a horrible event. It was just horrible. Taking on aggro at the end of District Union Arena he had those extra shields, so we had to constantly pull some. It was just not fun. Just not fun. Dean's near Vancouver. All right, yeah, so we're close. Yeah, I love Vancouver, man. Dean, Vancouver, British Columbia. I try to head up there often, especially when I was in college. We would head up there for ski trips. A lot of fun. Beautiful city, beautiful people. Mike Carter, greetings from Barbados. All right, you might be our first from Barbados, first I've seen. All right, all around the globe. All right, we got banditos everywhere. Look out, watch your backs. Banditos everywhere. Banditos in Barbados. Holy claps. Crap, start a clan, Mike. we need a TUX clan called Bandidos and Barbados. Hell yeah. And if you do that, you fill it up, I'm going to come down there and visit you because that sounds like a place I need to visit. Bandidos from Barbados. Love it. Marine Patriot gives us a heads up. Daylight savings time clocks go back 1 hour tonight at 2 a.m. Do we love that? Do we hate that? Are we getting more sleep? I think we are, right? I think that's what that means. Do we love that? Do we hate it? Do we love that? Do we hate it? If you're in other parts of the globe, do you guys do daylight savings? Let's go back to Mike Carter. Mike Carter, do you guys do daylight savings in Barbados? Do you guys follow the U.S. systems when it comes to clocks? What about you guys in Europe? How about you, Dean, in Vancouver? You guys might be too close to the U.S., and so you might do that because if your economic system is based off of our stock market, then you might do that. But what about you guys in Europe and whatnot? You guys do daylight saving stuff, or is that just a U.S. invention? Anthony Demar thought that exploding slow motion thing was a glitch too. Yeah. So you guys are experiencing it too. Okay, so it's not just us people. Funny. Yeah, Anthony Peters replies, yeah, people think it's a glitch, but it's a feature as far as I understand. No, you are probably exactly right. We're all experiencing it, and as far as I know, I think we've only been experiencing it since this event came on. But I haven't noticed if it's happening on every exploding NPC, if it's been consistent that way, because I do explode them a lot because I like their go for those weak points. I'm sure you guys do too. Okay, let's get into the next weapon type here. Let me just see what's on my list next, and then let me get that ready for us here. Okay, so wood is good, the topic of the day. So if it's made out of wood, chances are it's good. And so we are going through our list, and so far we have done SMGs, shotguns, and rifles. And so naturally the next up is the MMR. So this particular marksman rifle is called the White Death. It's a named version of the M1A Classic, which is a sniper rifle, right? Bolt action, amazing. I love it. And the White Death is one of my favorites. If I'm not running the Mantis sniper rifle, then I'm running the White Death. And it comes with 137% headshot damage as a core attribute. What's the standard there, guys? Is it 100% headshot damage? Is it 100? It might be an odd number, right? Somebody tell me what the standard is, but this one's coming in with 137% headshot damage, which is amazing. I roll damage to targets out of cover on mine, which I like to do on most of my weapons, and this particular one has NSYNC as the talent, but you got a lot of options there, Ranger being a good one as well. This one does really well. It's got, a little bit of the handling, it's got a kick on it. And so this is one of those weapons, just like the M870, just like the Virginian. I didn't mention that in the Virginian too, but there's a cadence to its firing pattern. And so you want to wait till your barrel drops before you hit your next shot. These are weapons, the M870, the Virginian, the White Death, or the M1A Classic. You do not want to spam the trigger on these. Sometimes the RPM is greater than what you want to actually do. So keep that in mind. So with this one, you want to wait for the barrel to drop, and then you take your next shot. So it requires a little bit of patience, but it's a beast. So I have a build recommendation for this as well. It's in the description area below, along with the others. So check it out afterwards. And as Anthony DeMar mentions in the feed, Sucker Punch. Exactly. Sucker Punch is a version, and I'm actually using NSYNC in the Sucker Punch. Basically, I call it the Sucker Punch because it's actually a hybrid sniper headshot build where I use my skills to apply damage, but also to distract, and then I can Sucker Punch them, shoot them in the back of the head instead of the forehead. But either way, right, if they're coming at you or they're distracted, the results are the same: one shot, one kill. And it's an amazing build, and that's why you see here I'm not actually running a magnifying scope. I have a short scope here, the reflex, for more weapon handling. It allows me to quick fire, and it's a lot of fun. If you guys like exhilarating builds, if you like run and gun builds, this is a mashup between a sniper headshot build and a run and gun build. That was the objective of the build. That's what I accomplished with it, and that's why it's a lot of fun. And you gotta do it. You gotta use it. The original one, if you didn't know, is called the Decapitator, and that's the one I actually recommended in the description area below, just because it was the original one. But check out that one. Check out either one. They're a lot of fun. So Decapitator or Sucker Punch, both of those are great builds. They use the White Death in a way that you wouldn't expect. So that's the point. Of course, if you're gonna run a standard sniper build and you wanna try the White Death, I recommend a 3-piece Aces build, is how I run it. And I run Providence and Araldi on my chest and backpack. And then I like to use the Sawyer's knee pads for that extra 30% weapon damage and as well resistance from explosions, and it gives me an armor core as well. So most sniper builds are overpowered for the game. Actually, you have way more power than you would normally use. So you got to look at what you typically face. You know, how many, if you're playing legendary, there's actually a lot more non-elites than there are elites if you look at it, and it's always that way, if you notice. Unlike control points. If you're running heroic control points, you're going to get a mix in the beginning, but mostly non-elites in the beginning. And then the second wave of a control point, when you're defending it, is going to be almost 100% elites, right? So you spec your build accordingly. But when you're playing legendary, you're actually playing the majority non-elites, and there's usually only a couple of elites sprinkled in. Like, look at the first wave of District Union Arena, right? You got one elite engineer and one elite grenadier, and everybody else is non-elite until you get to your chungas. Or actually, from when the first helicopter drop comes, you're going to get one elite rusher, and I think that's it in that wave, and then everybody else is non-elite, and then you get your chungas. The second helicopter drop, and the only elites in that one are chungas, and then everybody else is purple and red. Purple for the most part, though. So, anyways, it's a lot of fun, this particular build. I definitely recommend it. Let's pull up the second. There's another sniper rifle that's made out of wood, and that's the M8, the Model 700. There's also a named version of this. I just might be on my other character, but I didn't snatch it. But this one is actually, it's not that bad. You know, but the named version is called the Ecoms Long Stick, and I think it's got perfect rifleman on it. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But it's actually not that bad. I use it. I liked it. There's just better snipers in the game, in my opinion. But if you look at the total damage at 857, and again, this one is not fully optimized, and that's really good. That's really good. So let's look at the let's compare it to the White Death. So 857 to 922. Yeah, so those are really close. Really close. Is the Mantis the only one that's stronger than these two? But either way, they're definitely on the stronger side. The Model 700 has more rounds in the mag, and let's see what the handling is like. 7.2 reload time, but that's one round at a time, versus 3.1 seconds. So that's quite a bit different between the two. Something to consider. But yeah, so I don't know. Between the two, I like having the more headshot damage, so I end up going with the White Death. So when it comes to what is good, I would say the White Death outshines the Model 700. But the Model 700 is not too far behind it. So you have my recommendation: go with the White Death. But Model 700, if you prefer the handling on that, then that's yours. Use it. It's not a bad gun. It's up there. So. Dean says, yeah, they do have daylight savings up there in Canada. Yeah. Good to know. Dubsters75 says, I did the globes to optimize my gear quicker. You mean you get more optimizations resources? Is that what you're talking about? Because you're doing global events? Dubster? Jonathan says, I thought there was an elite drone controller in the first area of Legendary. No. There's not. There's an elite. Again, there's an elite engineer, tank engineer, elite grenader, and then remember, if you're when the first helicopter comes, the first one down is an elite, and that's a rusher. It's an elite rusher, and then the second one down, the rope that comes down in a squad, but is a purple, so a veteran drone operator, and right next to her is a non-elite, a grunt, a red foot soldier, and then across is 2 red rushers. And then the next wave from that is more red foot soldiers, and then I believe 1 purple drone operator. I think that's right. It's really close. I might be a little bit off there, but that's pretty close to what it is. And then after that, you got your chungas who are going to come down with snipers. And I believe all the snipers are purple. And there's 1 red sniper. But, yeah, it's surprising. Yeah, pay attention to that stuff, though. I mean, there's surprisingly not that many elites in Legendary. And that was their way. I know there's people out there that claim that they had influence over that, but they didn't. But that was their way of balancing out Legendary. So when Legendary was prescribed as too difficult, or the feedback was that it's too difficult, their way of balancing it out was to withdraw the number of elites that they had in each wave to make it more non-elite, so that they were easier to kill. So, but yeah, so that's their way of balancing it out. And then for Heroic, their way of making it more difficult was by adding more elites. So, yeah. Rafael Rodriguez is hollering at us from Michigan. All right, welcome, brother. We got a lot of people from the East Coast, so I really appreciate you guys. So if you are joining us, the topic is wood. If it has wood, chances are it's good. Strongest weapons in the game. And so far, we've gone through SMGs, shotguns, rifles, and MMRs. And so next, we're going to take on assault rifles. Anybody have any guesses on which assault rifle we're talking about? What is good? Which assault rifles are good? Which assault rifles have wood? What is good? Let's take a look. Let me get that ready first. So the assault rifle we're talking about is the Bighorn. If it's wood, it's good. Didn't always be the case. So the Bighorn, if you don't know, if you're a newer player to the game, the Bighorn drops only legendary. So, and it's actually pretty rare. It's actually a rare drop, right? So you can't get this from exotic caches. You can't get this in the open world. You have to be playing legendary content. So the only place you can get this is from the District Union Arena Stronghold, Capital, Building, Roosevelt Island, and you can also get this in the Summit. I've gotten a few in the Summit. Since I've been playing this game, I mean, I do a lot of legendary. Once legendary came out, it's basically all I've done. And I've maybe got eight of these or so total. So that's not very many considering how many hours I have in this game, right? So they're actually pretty rare for as many as I complete. I mean, constantly playing legendary. So, and at first it wasn't any good. You know, there were a lot of complaints, a lot of feedback to the developers saying that, hey, you know, for how difficult legendary content is, this gun you can't even use it in legendary content. And so, you know, the feedback was like, hey, if it's going to be a gun that drops in legendary content, it should at least be good enough to use in legendary content. So they modified it. Basically, what this weapon does is it's all about headshots. So it's an assault rifle. It's classified as an assault rifle. So that's what makes it interesting. So these are one of those things you got to think about, okay? And we'll get into this in a second here. But like the devs do this to us. And what I mean is they give us these weapon variants like an assault rifle, but give it a trait that treats it like something different. So for this one, it has Big Game Hunter. So when scoped, it switches to semi-automatic fire mode, dealing 450% weapon damage with each shot. Headshots grant 2% headshot damage, so stacks up to 50 times. That's 100% damage, headshot damage. That's a lot. Once a full stacks, 10 seconds decay every 4 seconds, which is actually really nice. It's a slow decay. So I think we're in the testing range, so we can take a look at how this works. So if we, and again, I'm not fully spec'd into assault rifles, so it is, the damage always gonna be what they are. But so that's critting at 3 million basically on crit, right? And they're stacking, so notice the crits are going up because of how the talent reads. So you get 2% headshot damage increase per headshot, stacking up to 50 times for 100% headshot damage. So every headshot we get, that number increases. So, but do you see how I'm playing here? This is tricky. This is tricky. So some people are like, oh wow, 450% headshot damage per. That's like really attractive. It's basically, in my opinion, you don't want to build around this concept, this scoped in concept. And the reason why is because it's not as good as a sniper rifle. If you can do that, you just go for a sniper rifle or a rifle. And then run an assault rifle as your secondary weapon when you want to switch to it. You're just gonna be better. When you play like this, you're just basically a not so great sniper. I mean, a sniper rifle, you're gonna be, what, on average, probably 21 million when you're optimizing the sniper build. 21 million. So what do you want to have? 21 million or 3.5 million, right? Okay, so the only way I run the Bighorn, I have a build, and actually I haven't linked it below, but I will in the description area after this. But how you want to play the Bighorn is like this. You see that? You're gonna stack faster. It's got a little bit of a kick on it, and I don't have that this build optimized for it. But you're gonna stack a lot faster, and you're gonna kill a lot faster. You see how fast I'm killing this fool? So the handling is really difficult on this thing. I mean, I'm trying here, and I'm all over the place. So that's the trick with this thing. So what I recommend, okay, is check out my Bighorn build. It's the only way I would run a Bighorn. All right, you run it like a headshot assault rifle, and you will shred content. And I tried a lot of different builds with this thing because it was one of these weapons. I was like, okay, I just gotta put pen to paper, spend the time, and figure out how I want to run this build because it's actually a really good gun, but you know, there's all these builds out there, and none of them just felt gratifying. It just felt like they weren't speccing into the gun's potential, really. And so that's what I determined. I determined, like, you only scope in when you have an enemy really at range, and you just got to take him out. He's almost dead, and you just need to put a couple shots in him. That's how I use that, basically. But even from the way I built this, I used a 4-piece striker, and you can use a 3-piece striker too, but I found the 4-piece striker was great. And it's going to give you more RPM because if you look, the RPM is at 800, which isn't bad. So I think it pushes it, I think it was like 890, 9 something. But anyway, you can get more RPM, but you're going to get the handling. And you need the handling because you're going to be going for headshots and you need to land those headshots. But it allowed me to get headshots at range. I mean, 30, 40, 30 meters out at full auto. Okay? And so when you get those stacks up, everybody's just dying really fast. It's just, so anyways, the trick is though, is you got to get the handling. And I was running it with the Memento backpack, and I was also running it with Obliterate, so 4-piece striker. So in order to run Obliterate, you need to get your crits up. So I was maxing my crits, and then running 4-piece striker, getting all that amp damage. But yeah, I really enjoyed the build that way. Running it a lot, I ran it a lot with heroic content. So, but for legendary build, it's been a while since I've actually created that build, and I didn't feel the need to create another one because it was just doing that well. So, how do you run your guys' Bighorn? Do you? Do you? Ooh, Dubsa calls that the FAL. Yeah, good call. The FAL is actually a really good assault rifle, also made out of wood. That's the thing about. Yeah, the assault rifles is a tough category, right? Because it's sort of about preference on which assault rifle you call the best, right? But let me put it this way, okay? So it's got to be a particular attribute because there's just a lot of preference that's going to dictate on what you think is the best. So, and so you could go off of power, which has the highest base weapon damage for an assault rifle. What is that? Anyways, is it the variant, the P, what is it, 8? I forget the numbers all the time of these things. Let's see if I have one. The P416, is that the highest in the game? Are you going to go off of handling, right? But so far we've been going off of power for the most part, or a particular trait, power traits. And so we're talking about power here. And so what is the highest? Is it the P416? Is that the highest base assault rifle damage out there? Is the FAL stronger? I can't recall because I just don't have it in my stash here. But let me know, is the FAL stronger than that? But the reason why the Bighorn is, it makes the, if it's wood, it's good. Because there's no other assault rifle in the game that is going to give you that kind of headshot damage. So this assault rifle is going to give you 100% headshot damage on top of whatever else you got spec on your build. And then we get 30% headshot damage from the scope. You get a little bit of stability there, more accuracy, and then reload speed. But so if we look at my stats on this, I'm at 124% headshot damage. And that's before that. So with the stacks, I'm going to be at 224% headshot damage without speccing into it. And so I probably use my mods for crits. I'd probably go crit chance, crit damage, and then headshot damage. I'd probably stack those three things for what I do. So that's why this is on the list. Not because it's got the highest base damage, but it brings the most headshot damage to your build than any other assault rifle is going to bring, in my opinion. Let's see here. AKM. Jonathan says the AKM. Does that have the strongest base weapon damage out of all of them? Does the AKM have a wood stock? It does, huh? Maybe that should have also made the list as the base weapon damage. Jonathan says he's got 3 or 4 Bighorns and they collect dust in my stash. Laugh out loud. They do. They do. Just because, you know, there's a lot of, you got to kind of be in the mood for, you got to be in the mood to run the Bighorn. Because it's like, there's so many better builds than Bighorn builds out there. So you definitely got to be in the mood. You know, because you're like, oh, well, I can run this build. This assault rifle is better, or that assault rifle is better. Yeah, I would sort of like that with the Eagle Bear as well. I kind of got to be in the mood. Because I know that it gets voted as the best exotic in the game often, but that sort of doesn't make sense to me. I might just be thinking differently, but the handling isn't that great, and it's got a defensive talent where you could run the P416 with an offensive talent and be hitting harder than the Eagle Bear. So, you know, and that defensive talent is really hard. Actually, you got to proc it. You can only proc it with headshot damage. The assault rifle, the Bighorn itself, comes with headshot damage as a secondary attribute. I'd rather have damage to targets that I cover. You know what I mean? So, and then in order to take fully advantage of that immunity that the Eagle Bear brings you, you're gonna have to get 3 headshot kills in back-to-back within, 10 seconds? Like, Jesus, right? In order to do that, you got to spec fully into power, basically. So that's really hard to do. Really hard to do. But it's got its places. So basically, you know, in order to run the Eagle Bear, for me, I end up having to build in a lot of power elsewhere in my build to make up for all the power I lost on one of 3 weapon talents. I mean, build talents. You got one on your weapon, one on your chest, and one on your backpack. So when one of them is dedicated to defense, then I need to balance that out elsewhere in my build. So the weapon talent is really important for me. But I do run defensive weapon talents. I think you're better off with preservation than you are with the Eagle Bear's tenacity, Eagle Strike talent, because preservation gives you 10% armor and kill, or 20% armor and kill if you get that headshot kill. And that's, to me, I think a lot more valuable than being immune, maybe. immune, maybe. Okay, because if you don't get those 3 headshot kills, the gun will kill you. So that's a lot of risk. I'd rather have the headshot on kill. But anyways, to each their own. People love the Eagle Bear, I think, more because it's elusive for a lot of the base players. You know, a lot of people don't raid, right? A lot of people don't raid. A lot of people don't raid. A lot of people don't legendary. Definitely don't solo legendary. You know, the majority of players in this game spend their time playing heroic. It's like over 80% of their time playing heroic. So, and what is it? I don't know. At one time, the raid stat was at 1%, right? Which is why you don't see me doing a lot of raid builds, a lot of DZ builds, Dark Zone builds, because when it comes to population of who plays that content, it's really small. So, and there's not a lot of diversity there either, right? So, if I were to create raid builds, you would be seeing me infusing a lot more diversity in builds for the raid, and then you're gonna end up butting heads with your raid captains because these are people who most of the time run with the prescription builds, and many of them don't even actually play the game outside of the raid. So you know, I know from my own experience, a lot of my clan itself that do raids, we see them come in just for the raids, and then we don't see them for a week again. And it's always been that way. Even when the game was at its height, they would just do the raids and never really play any other content. Because of that, their builds don't evolve. So they're still running that M1A build. And wow, it's a lot more fun when you can break out of that mold. I'll tell you what, because that's what I did, and I'm having a blast. Even today, even in a low point of the game. Michael Myers says, I still enjoy the Merciless. Gosh, I'm having a hard time with the Merciless. A lot of it's the handling. I mean, and I don't mean like, you know, how it kicks and all that. I mean, like, I guess it's like, it's got like a silencer on it or whatever, right? But it goes like tink, 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 tink. I feel like I'm shooting a toy gun pistol. It's tink, 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 tink. When it shoots, it just doesn't feel very powerful, you know? But it's sort of like the Pestilence a lot too, right? Where if you read into the talent, it says you got to have a max weapon damage for this to make sense. I think it's the explosions are based off of weapon damage. I don't believe they're actual explosion damage. So, yeah. So, you know, that means you have to run an all red build if you want to really put that to its potential. And then I did that just recently, actually. It was probably couple months ago, and I still wasn't killing an elite with you know, full stack of explosions. I was like, well, that sucks. Like, you should at least be able to kill a heroic elite with that, right? I mean, lame. So I'm having a hard time with that, but I know people out there do like it, and I would like to come up with a build for it. I haven't probably given it the time that it deserves, so I'll just have to keep coming around when I find time. But so many other more exciting builds, so let's get those out of the way first. Jonathan wants to stick his Bighorn on the sniper build and see what it does. 315% headshot damage. Yeah, that'd actually. Yeah, I mean that'd pan out, I think. You know, because you know you're not running. You know, the 10% Fenris, right? You're losing that for 10% marksman rifle damage, but that's okay. That trade-off is okay for the added weapon damage, right? Headshot damage, that is. So, yeah, I'd give that a try. Let me know what you think. We see people doing that, right? Have you guys seen the build where I run the Chameleon? It's actually the Chameleon build series, where I run the Chameleon with Hunter's Fury. So when you break the molds like that, some of them really make sense. So I challenge you in that video to think of the Chameleon like an SMG. It is the vector. So that's what I mentioned earlier when I was looking at the assault rifle and said that the devs do this to us. They give us this weapon variant, and then they kind of spec into it like a different weapon variant. So like the Bighorn, you know, they want us to play it like a sniper, go for headshots, you know, sort of. But just like the vector, it's just like, why do they give us this vector that's an SMG and then call it an assault rifle? Like, why would they do that? You know? Well, I think it's because they want us to actually use it like an SMG. I think they want us to use the Chameleon up close and personal as a run and gun build. It brings all the crit chance that you need, which is really unique for an assault rifle, and why it's probably the best exotic in the game, at least in the assault rifle class, in my opinion. Because, and I like it better than, yeah, I'm saying that, I like it better than the Bighorn, and I like it better than the Eagle Bear. I think the Chameleon is more useful than both those weapons because it gives you all the crit chance that you need. So it's going to give you, I think on the weapon itself, it's got 35%. You're going to get 10% from your watch, which brings you to 45%. And then when you max out your headshots, or when you build those stacks, it's going to give you another 20% crit chance, and then 50% crit damage, which is better than Dark Winter, right? It lasts longer, more than 10 seconds. And then, and it doesn't require a kill, by the way. And then when you get your body shot stacked, you're getting 90% weapon damage, which is like 6 red cores. It's equivalent, right? And so if you're running 6 red cores, then you now have 180% weapon damage. So also I ran that with Hunter's Fury. So I guess my point is to what Jonathan was saying is that when you break the molds, when you say, hey, I'm gonna run my Bighorn with an Aces build or some sort of sniper build, whatever it is, yeah, there's a good chance it'll work out if you start thinking that way. Look at the weapon, be like, hey, they want us to play this like an SMG. Why don't I give that a shot? You know, think about that. Just like the Vector or the Chameleon. Let me play this like an SMG, or I think I said that wrong. The Bighorn, yeah, when you think like, hey, let me play this like a sniper, it'll work out. And same thing with the Vector. So let me play this like the Chameleon, let me play this like an SMG. It works out. And so when we ran that with Hunter's Fury, of course, the first talent on Hunter's Fury is 15% SMG damage, and you're not making use of that. But it's okay. It ends up being an OP assault rifle build because you're just getting all of that amplified damage and armor on kill, and you're getting all the crit chance that that any gun can be. And I think it's better than the Vector for that setup. So give that a try. Try running the Chameleon with the Hunter's Fury. You will be surprised. And just remember, don't spec any crit chance on your build, because the gun brings all the crit chance that you need. And I see that as, I see that error often with the Chameleon, where people will build in all the crit chance, and then they're wasting the talent, basically. Michael Myers says, 3 strikers of brace, and I am almost one-shotting the Chungas in dark hours. Nice. What are you using for that, Michael? What gun are you? Oh, are you talking about the Merciless? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's a lot of handling, though, brother. 3 strikers with brace? I wonder if you could get away with one or the other. I just wonder. But that's definitely going to work. I found, like, I have a build that's called You're Wearing Too Much Armor, or... No, it's called You Have Too Much Damage. And I basically talk about how certain builds, like sniper builds, have more damage than you're actually going to utilize, but also that landing shots is just as important. So if you have all this damage but you're missing all your bullets, like, who cares, right? So and I bring into the equation guns like the Rail Splitter, right? And with their accuracy and and their base weapon damage and your critting, you do really well. And so, but what I found during that series was about 45% weapon handling is the sweet spot, and I found that greater than that 45% became diminishing returns. Like our eye-hand coordination has a more difficult time detecting that added weapon handling over 45%, because it's just the change isn't as great. So, but that's my experience, and all of us are going to be a little bit different. But so my recommendation is to get around that 45 to 50%, between 40 and 50% weapon handling, and anything over that is probably should go more to survivability or power. So, but so with that strikers build, you got your 45% from brace, and then another 15% from strikers. So you're up there at 60%. Yeah, I'm sure that you're just laser targeting headshots and then exploding on those faces. So yeah, I can see how that works. But you probably got a little bit of room there to probably, it's kind of difficult, but you take off brace, put on obliterate or something, and then use your other mod slots for to get your weapon handling up to 45%. Not your mod slots, but your secondary attributes. But either way, it's working for you. So don't make any changes. On the other hand, it's doing what you need it to do. So welcome, Steve Johnson. I think you're just joining us. Hey, Tux and chat. How is everybody doing? So far, so good. Late night with Tux. It's Saturday night. So if you did just chime in, we're talking about wood. If it's wood, it's good. So if you're getting, we're talking about the strongest weapons in the game, and they just have something in common, and that is that they're made out of wood. And so far, we've done SMGs, shotguns, rifles, and sniper rifles, and we just covered the Bighorn, which is an assault rifle. And so we're up to cover our next one. So let me get that ready, and then we will review it. And so some of these are about power, and sometimes they're about something special that they're adding that really makes it set apart, and that's why they're good. And so let's jump into the LMG category, so the light machine gun. So if you want to call this one out, you got a quick second here. So what do you think is the LMG that's going to make the list for the wood is good? Wood is good. If it has wood, chances are it's good. That LMG is, make your guess, make your guess, make your guess, make your guess, because I'm about to show you. And here it comes. It is a Pestilence. Is that a surprise? Probably not. But a lot of you probably didn't realize that it's well, obviously there's metal on it, just like all these weapons. They're not 100% made out of wood, but it's got a wood stock, right? So let's take a look at that. It's just wrapped in the Outcast tape or cloth or whatever that is. But yeah, but that's a wood stock, folks. Look at that. It's a wood stock. Wood on the handle, wood on the top grip as well. But yeah, wood is good. And so for me, for the LMG category, this one is it. And I'm sure you guys, everybody's familiar with the Pestilence, right? So it's probably one of the first exotic weapons you got in the game. It drops a lot in the DZ, but of course it's in the general loot pool, so you can get this. Of course in the DZ, and you could also farm LMGs for targeted loot to get into Summit, in the open world, and also from your exotic caches by completing your weekly projects or daily projects as they call it. But this LMG comes with Plague of the Outcast. So, you know, the handling is horrible. It's got a low RPM. The reload is nasty at 5 seconds. But this thing is a beast. Now, just so you know, like, it took me forever to. Good job, Anthony. Anthony called it Pesty. Good job. I think that's 2 for 2 for you, isn't it? You're on your A game. Anthony brought his A game. Jonathan's up there too. Good job, Jonathan. Pesty. And so I avoided this gun forever. I just, you know, I'm a handling guy. I've mentioned that a couple of times, you know, so I like those fast reloads, fast, you know, I'm a running gunner, so accuracy. And this is anything but those things. So you have to waste a lot of space on your build to bring in that handling, right? But look at the Plague of the Outcast. This is really unique, and this is why it's on the list, right? So we got LMG damage to targets out of cover, which is one of my favorite stats, and then damage to armor. So damage to targets out of cover and damage to armor together is a really, really, really nice combination. That's powerful, guys, okay? So Plague of the Outcast, hits apply a debuff dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. It stacks up to 50 times, right? When an enemy dies with this debuff, all stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. And then that clock resets, that 10-second clock resets when it transfers. So I call that the waterfall effect, and that's your ultimate goal with this weapon. Okay, is to get as many waterfall effects happening at the same time as possible. So that basically means you want to fill a guy with 50 stacks, 50 rounds, right? You want him to die and then transfer to somebody else. While that's happening, you want to fill another 50 stacks into somebody else. You want them to die and then transfer that waterfall to their nearby enemy. And then it'll just start cascading from there. And you might even be able to stop shooting and clear the entire battlefield. That's a good Pestilence build, okay? The trick to it, though, okay, let's talk about the pros and the cons. So I just came up with a Pestilence build, and I haven't put that link in the description area below yet, but I will. It's about 3-4 weeks old now, but It's called I Bet Your Pestilence Can't Do This. Okay, and but if you look at the weapon talent, it says 100%. The debuff deals 100% weapon damage. So that means the only way to maximize the damage from the TUX, okay, is to maximize your weapon damage. There's no other way. So that means, so damage over time can be modified by damage to armor on your build. It could also be modified by damage to targets out of cover. So the Fox's knee pads actually will make that better. Amplified damage as well, of course. And so, so that's pretty limited on what you can. That means it's pretty limited what you can do on your build. So the memento will work with this. So those stacks will increase your base weapon damage, which will thus transfer to your damage over time, which are those little Plague of the Outcast tick, 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 which eventually kills them. So what I'm saying is, in order to get the most out of this Pestilence, just like the Merciless that we talked about a second ago, you have to run maximum weapon damage. We're talking 6 red cores, okay, to get the most out of this. And then if you really want to take it up there, I'm gonna recommend you run glass cannon as well, right? But the difficult thing is we go back to the weapon handling with this. So in order to plug 50 rounds into an enemy, you're gonna have to be out of cover. I mean, behind cover, but shooting from cover, right? Out of cover. And this isn't a blind fire type weapon. You're just not gonna be able to, you know, duck down and shoot over your head with this. It's not a blind fire weapon. Just let you know that. It's like trying to blind fire a sniper rifle. You're gonna miss everything. So you have to get out of cover, and you gotta load that fool with 50 rounds. Now, when you're playing legendary or heroic, you're gonna be punished for that. Okay? They're not gonna let you spend 50 rounds without punishing you in return. Fine. Use an armor kit. You back up to armor. Get back up. You're gonna be out of armor kits in no time. Within minutes. You're gonna use all your armor kits probably within the first 3 or 4 minutes. So that's no fun. Right, and the weapon handling, that's the weapon handling doing that for you. The low and it's got a slow reload too on top of that, 5 seconds, right? So it's a very painful weapon. So you gotta look into that. You gotta counter that. And so the way I did that was I built a lot of survivability using the secondary attributes, because you don't need crits for this. You don't need crits. And so what you need is to be able to stay out of cover and load 50 rounds. So how do you do that? So those are the questions that you pull in. But when you do that, you want to maximize the damage over time. That's the unique part of this weapon. If you're not doing that, then use a different LMG. If you're gonna crit, if you want crits, use a different LMG, a faster one with faster reload, with more accuracy. Because these have a particular behavior. They inflict a behavior on the NPCs. What have you guys ever noticed that? How much time the enemy stays in cover when you have an LMG? It's really frustrating. Because you're like, I want to put 50 rounds in that guy. I got like 10 of them in there, and now he's staying in cover and he won't get up. Why is that? Because the LMG is a support weapon. You are suppressing the enemy. He is staying suppressed. That's why they built in Plague of the Outcast, right? It's because that enemy is taking damage even if he's hiding. Right? Because those damage over time, the tick, 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 tick. That's what makes the Pestilence awesome. Hide if you want. Get out of cover, enemy. Either way, if I got rounds in you, you're taking damage. And that's what's cool about the Plague of the Outcast. But what's frustrating about it, to my point, is that when you shoot them, you're forcing them back into cover. That's the behavior that this weapon causes. That's the action-reaction. And out of all LMGs. So that's why I think the LMGs aren't that great in this game unless you can get so much damage up front before they get back into cover. Otherwise, that's the point of the LMG, is to just suppress so your team can do what they need to do. And what's cool about the Plague of the Outcast is that when their suppressors taking damage, when they're not in cover, they're taking even more damage, because damage target out of cover will multiply on the damage the Plague of the Outcast is. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you understand what I'm talking about? If you're an LMG player, you've probably noticed, especially the Pestilence, how often the enemy stays in cover when you use it. So, something to think about. But That's why I don't use LMGs a lot, because I don't like how the NPCs react to it. But when I do, it's going to be the Pestilence, because I really enjoyed it. But I didn't for the longest time. Actually, I avoided that weapon for the longest time. And again, it was just one of those weapons like, okay, everybody's asking me for a build. They want some TUX sauce on the Pestilence, so I had to break it out and had to do it. And then I fell in love with it. I liked it, and I ran it a lot. I was like, ooh, this is a really fun build. I got the survivability. You guys got to check that. So I'll put a link in the area below, description area below. But it's called I Bet Your Pestilence Can't Do This. I don't think I need to run another Pestilence series, because I think it gave the answer for the Pestilence and what I think it needs, which is you need the survivability, because you're going to have to spend a lot of time shooting out of cover because of its animation, slow animation, and slow rate of fire and horrible accuracy. And so this allows you to do that, and the reward is everybody dies from the plague. So perfect. It's perfect. So, but if you're trying to run, 1.5 million damage over time tick Pestilence build, all red with 0 survivability, then you're probably noticing you can't take much damage and you run out of armor kits a lot, and it's not very fun because you're probably hiding more than you're shooting, and that's not the idea of an LMG. Sometimes you just got to look at the NPC archetypes, right? Notice the True Sons LMG players. How tanky are they? That's how tanky you should be, so to speak. And not necessarily in armor, but in recovery, right? Look at the enemies. Look at their LMG players. They're not squishy. Why would you want to be squishy? You're already squishy. You want to be squishier? Look at them. Look at their LMG players. They got it right. They're like, okay, I got a hard-hitting, slow-firing LMG. I need a lot of armor. I need to be able to shoot without dying. And that's what you need to be doing. The game's got some of those answers for you. You just got to, read between the lines and look at the patterns. And you got all the answers you guys need. Just a quick reminder, if you don't know, classified builds are secret builds made just for Texas Players Club True and Hardcore Bandito member levels. So you have to be a True and Hardcore Bandito member in order to get these secret builds. They're extra builds that I create as a thank you for you guys supporting my channel as a member of Texas Players Club. So you can get access to these today by clicking the join button below this video. And the build that you're seeing me play right now in this gameplay footage is a build that is only available to to Texas Players Club members, and it's called Limitless. Now, classified builds are eventually declassified once the build matures. So if you're not able to join and become a Texas Players Club, you do eventually get these builds. But it'll be much, much later in time. So anyways, I appreciate you guys who do support the channel, and for those of you who will, I will see you on the member side as well. Also, anybody looking for like-minded peeps, check out Tux's clans, the Tux clans. These clans are popping thanks to some really great leaders and banditos. So PC, PlayStation people, if you want to hook up with these folks, the best place to do so is by finding us on my Discord. So be sure to head over there. That link is in my description to get over to my Discord as well. And then Bandito will drop those links as well in this chat feed. But yeah, so head over to the Discord. If you guys aren't on my Discord, you need to be. That's the place to be. Good build talks, a lot of support and positive environment, and we're active. So this Discord is alive and popping, just like the clans. So we haven't gotten the Xbox clan up and going. I am on the Xbox myself, but I don't want to lead it because I am really busy helping the community out, and I want to stay focused on that. So I need a really good leader for the Xbox. So if that sounds like you, hit me up on Discord as well. So anyways, we'll get that open soon. So look forward to that. Okay, so we just talked about the Pestilence specialized LMG. If it's wood, it's good. And I think the next category we're going to go to are pistols. So let's take a look at what we got next. And that's going to be the Orbits. Right, I think one of the members mentioned this, made sure I didn't forget about this particular beast from Thursday. So I appreciate you, whoever that mentioned it. But yeah, the Orbit is also Dark Zone exclusive, just like the Virginian, so you can also get this in the Dark Zone. But I think it's a must-have pistol. This is the Magnum 45. Is that right, guys? Am I saying that right? but it's not actually the highest base weapon damage. The D50 might be, and there's also the Police Magnum. So I think both of those have a little bit higher base damage, but one of those is definitely the highest. But this one, why this one is good and also made of wood, that beautiful, what do we think that is? Is that walnut? Is a nice walnut handle there. And look at the gunmetal that they have here, or it's called Orbit, and that looks like it's from outer space, the way they speckled that paint there, right? Speckled paint. But really cool. Midnight Sky for Orbit, that's what it's called. Anyways, it becomes a perfect finisher. So swapping from this weapon within 10 seconds of killing an enemy with it grants 35% critical hit chance and 40% critical hit damage for 15 seconds. Yeah, so that's what it is. It's got a really high base weapon damage, 160 RPM with 6-round mag. I also got a build called it was actually a challenge video where I'm using, I challenge you to use a revolver, and this one would work. I think it's called Hot Revolver. That's right, it's called Hot Revolver. Try the Orbit with that video. I'll put a link in the description area below. But that's if you're looking to try something different and have fun. But I ran all directives in the summit with just a pistol as a challenge, and I challenge you to do it too. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Good way to level up too if you're looking to do that. Thanks, Jonathan, who says the D50 is the highest. It's around 465k. Yeah, I appreciate that. And the Police Magnum might be about the same as this one as well. I think they're either the same or the Police is just a little bit more. But yeah. So, anyways, that's a lot of fun. Let me bring up this the other pistol, and this one is a. Actually, I gotta take off the pistol to really look at it. So this one is the Regulus, and I think this is actually the best exotic in the game. I know that's it's personal preference, but it's got a really unique and useful talent called Regicide. So headshot kills create a 5-meter explosion, dealing 400% weapon damage, not explosive damage, weapon damage, but they're explosions, and apply a bleed, so a status effect, to all enemies hit. Wow, right? So the build I have for this, which is already linked below in the description area, is called Skull Crusher. It's really fun. It's a headshot build. I use it for the reanimated event. You should too if you have this gun. So if you don't know, this is locked behind a raid. So this is a raid specific exotic, and it was the one that I was after. So it's with the Iron Horse. The Iron Horse gives the Ravenous, which is a rifle, and then when you complete Iron Horse for the first time, you're gonna get a quest, and then you gotta donate all this gear, this big list of gear, twice, and then you unlock the blueprint, and then you have to beat the raid one more time to collect the components, and then you go to Anaya and you can construct it. And if you didn't know, you can have more than one Regulus. You can have, as far as I know, at least 4, but there were claims, and I haven't tested this, but there were claims that you could have unlimited Reguluses, which is really helpful if you're looking for those exotic components, because then you can just deconstruct them and make sure you always have exotic components, which is not a big issue for us experienced players, because we have more exotics than we know what to do with. But when this gun was released, when the new Iron Horse raid was released, I was like, yes, this is the gun that's to have. This is the gun that I want, and I did what I could to complete the raid and get this as fast as possible. But and I love it. I think it's the best exotic in the game. It's really powerful. Look at that base damage, 650,000, 6-round mag. And it is so much fun. It's beautiful. It feels good. And when you get those explosions, it's just so much fun. Bodies are flying. It's really easy to build around. You feel powerful. It's just a great gun. If there's a reason to raid, it's this one. And I know, that's a controversial comment when I say this is the best exotic in the game. And I know a lot of you say that, the Eagle Bear is better. And maybe it's probably more useful, but You know, because you're going to use an assault rifle build out there more than you are a pistol build. But this has got its uses. I mean, if you want to one-shot a boss, you know, pair this up with the Dodge City holster, right? Get all those Dodge City holster weapon damage stacks for your sidearm pistol. And then, you know, get some modifiers on there like opportunistic and, you know, maybe somebody's wearing future initiative and blah, blah, blah. And you're running headhunter and you can one-shot. I've seen people one-shot aggro. And that wasn't too long ago, so I think you can still do that. I think you can one-shot aggro with this. And of course, I think you can do that with like the Nemesis or whatnot. But anyways, it's a lot of fun. I like it just on heroic content when I'm, you know, clearing control points. And, you know, you just go up to a control point when that spawn door opens and you get one of the non-elites in the head. They all gonna die. They're all gonna die. And there might be a guy that's still standing, but he's not gonna have much life on him. What do you guys think? Who has this gun? Who thinks it's fun? It's made of wood. I think it's good. Talk to me. Want to hear some opinions. I know a lot of you guys don't raid, so for you that don't, you probably don't have this gun, but we can solve that problem if you head over to my Discord. You know, even if you don't join the clans, you know, come join the Discord and, you know, choose your platform. And if you're looking to raid, these clans are willing to help you. These are good people, you know. These are good people. They're going to help you with your build. They'll help you get your build selection together. So it'll be a lot of fun. Typhoon says, just stop by to drop a like. Take it easy. See y'all later. Hey, Typhoon. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for dropping the like. Hopefully you catch this on the replay. Just so you guys know, I do have a playlist on my channel called live stream. So if you do want to catch these on the replay, you can go there to watch any of my live streams. And then for you members, you guys may not know, but there is a members only playlist as well. So all those classified builds and members only streams can be found in the members only playlist on my channel. Also, if you are a member, you need to be on my Discord and you need to go to the lounge for the Texas Players Club, knock, and the admin will confirm your YouTube username and give you access to the Players Club private channel. So if you want to capture my attention, that's where the best place to get it. So appreciate you guys. Yeah, make sure you take advantage of these resources. These are resources for you. Ace the Atlian asks, what backpack do you recommend for your Chameleon build if you don't have the Memento backpack? I feel like the Bellstone Armory backpack is a really good placeholder for the Memento. You know, you can run it with Bloodsucker, which I actually don't use Bloodsucker. I'm actually not a big fan of Bloodsucker. I know some of you guys might like it, but I prefer Adrenaline Rush. It's just less hassle, just, you know. And especially with the Chameleon. So the Chameleon is not an assault rifle that plays well at range. Did you know that? Do you feel like that too? Because like we were talking about, like we were saying before, the Chameleon is the base of that weapon is actually the Vector, right? And there's some modifications there, but if you notice the handling, it's a circular spray pattern, and that's like an SMG, and it doesn't really do well at distances. You're going to be shooting around your target's head, so you want to pull in, you know, to that, like, you know, in your face point blank to somewhere to like 20-25 meters at the most. So between 15 and 20 meters, probably between 10 and 20 meters being that sweet spot. So try to stay in there. So with that being said, you know, you could run the Bellstone, give yourself an armor core, at least one for regen. And then if you're there, you might as well run a second piece and get that armor on kill. And then run Adrenaline Rush and Intimidate. And that feels really, really good with the Chameleon. Now that's more up close and personal, but if you're going to play a little bit deeper than 10 meters on average, then yeah, run Obliterate. And, you know, you could also run an offensive talent if you decide not to run a defensive talent. Unstoppable is an option. Unstoppable and Bloodsucker are just components of Memento, which is why Memento is really good. Because it's got like Bloodsucker and Unstoppable smashed together all in one backpack. So, anyways, But for me, I like to run Bellstone. So, and then from there, it's just based on your preference. If you're going to play getting close, then I recommend Adrenaline Rush, Intimidate. And then otherwise, Obliterate and Vigilance are great options too. Or Composure on the backpack. There's a good compromise, depending on your play style. Xanoff says, I need that revolver, and I agree. You need that revolver. Yes, you do. Again, head over to my Discord, hook up with the clans, or at least call out your platform, and we can help you guys raid. Michael Myers says, I can help. Appreciate you, brother, Michael. Okay, so we just did Orbit into Regulus. So that actually exhausts my list. So that means we're running to the end of our time here. So if you guys got any last minute comments or questions, I am at your service. Drop them. Let me know what you guys want, what answers you need me to answer for you, and I can do my best. But anyway, so in the meantime, let me tell you what we got coming around the corner. So next week is going to be another exciting week because I have found, and you members know this, another hybrid build that is jaw-dropping. And this one is run completely different than how we've been running them before. As a matter of fact, I'm not using the Memento backpack, so it's sort of a first for these hybrids. And then I got actually a series of these that I'm going to be releasing that are not using the Memento also. But yeah, but it was just one of these builds where I used it and then I tried it on District Union Arena on Legendary, because that's where I go to test my builds, because that's where a lot of builds go to die. So it's a real test. And you know, when I cleared that first wave on my first try, which I don't always do with these builds, I sort of laughed. I was like, no way. No way. Because I felt like, you know, with the Perfect Blend build, I mean, a Limitless is really good too, but a Limitless is more of a variation. But Perfect Blend was just like, so the handling, the damage that thing puts out is just like, wow, right? And so I was like, okay, so we've gone through this really OP list of hybrid builds. There's no way I can make a better one, but and I don't know if it's better, it's different, and so it's different enough to make it hard to compare to the other ones, just to be honest with you. But it's just really different. Power, it's probably better. Actually, I think it has more power than any of the other builds that I've had. Just flat out. Between skills and weapon damage, flat out. More power. Okay, I'm gonna give you a tip, but it's not a spoiler. And then let's see if you guys can guess what it is. It's got 60% amplified damage with another 20% weapon damage bonus on top of that. So 70% total damage bonuses. Wait, 80% total damage bonuses. Imagine how fast the enemies die when you have 60% amplified damage. Imagine how fast they die with 80% total damage bonuses, 60% being amplified. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm sorry, that's a lot, guys. That's really, really a lot. Okay, on top of that, I have another classified build out there that will be dropping next week for you members. So for you members of Players Club. So this is why you want to be a Players Club. So member. So I got another build where I have 300, listen to this. You want to pay attention. 350% crit damage. Maximum crit chance. 350% crit damage on a 6 skill tier hybrid. Maximum skill damage ballistic skill build. Meaning turret and drone. I'll let you process that one for a second. So a moment of silence for your brain to process that. Okay, that's enough. 350% crit damage. That's insane, guys. I'm sorry, it's just insane. How did I do that? How did we have 350% crit damage on a build? Members don't reply. Because you guys know, members have the inside loop on this stuff, guys. That's why you want to be part of the Texas Players Club. Get the latest and greatest. Get it first. Anyways, so yeah. So it's gonna be an exciting week this week. A lot to look forward to. And look, guys, you only have so many loadouts. I put out a lot of builds. You do need to try them all. The builds I put out aren't crap. I've thoroughly tested, and I run them on solo legendary, not because I expect you to do that, because I want to show you what they can do, and I like to push these builds to the limits. They all have a purpose, and the most important thing that they deliver is fun. So if it's not fun, you know, I'm just not going to put the Tux stamp on it, right? But these have Tux sauce spilled all over them. So, anyways, the point is that all of these builds may not be for you. You know what I mean? They may not, but some of these are about you just finding your way and discovering what build is for you. But the biggest thing that I hope to accomplish is to expand your mind, because I know a lot of you guys, especially you new players, you come into this game and then you get these people. I had somebody telling me, oh, I'll bring this up in a second, but people come to you and say, hey, this is the build you have to have. This is the right build. And then you know what it's going to be. It's that M1A max crit build, right? It's the, you know, the baker's dozen, and it's got the contractors and the fox's prayers, and you know, you got to run that just to know what it's like and whatever. But it doesn't stop there. The game evolved. I say that was a long time ago build. And yeah, so so you guys decide on what builds are for you, but you know, I go through these motions, and right now we're a lot of them are on these hybrid builds, but they're not always. You know, we do the LMG builds, and then we're gonna go through assault rifles, and we circle around to the run and gun. If you're a run and gun style person, I have plenty of those builds in the playlist, so check those out. You need to go to my channel and just and cruise through the builds playlist, because there's a lot of variation in there, and they're worth your time. They're worth the grind. So be sure you check those out. But yeah, these are a lot of fun, guys. And so, I mean, that's the point of it. If you're not having fun with these builds, then we need to figure out which one's for you. John B says, I don't have money to join your club. No worries, brother. No worries. So these classified builds, there are extra builds that I create for they're member perks, right? So they're a thank you to members for supporting my channel and their perks. But once they mature, I will release them. You probably have already seen that. As builds have matured, I release them. I declassify them, because these are classified builds. So I declassify them for the general YouTube population. And you've already, if you haven't noticed, I've already, there are declassified builds out there. They do say that in the build and in the intro, where I mentioned that this was a classified build for Texas Players Club that has not been declassified for you. So don't worry if you're not able to become a Texas Players Club member, then you do eventually get access to these builds. And my job, as I see it, is to keep the community pumping and having fun, whether you're a Texas Players Club member or not. So, and my way of doing that is making sure I put out good content. Some of it's builds, some of it's me dropping knowledge nuggets, like the income and repairs video that I put out last week, or whatever topic, or streams like this. So yeah, but no, I appreciate you guys are supporting me just by hitting that like, commenting, watching my vids, and trying my builds. That's supporting me too, so I appreciate you, man. No worries. Michael Myers, no, I don't sleep. That's why I wear this mask, because I got big serious bags under my eyes. Rico Merta says, I'm definitely going to need a raid carry on both raids, so hopefully you're heading over to the Discord. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, John. Yeah, man, hopefully the economy takes a quick turn for everybody, man. It's, going into the winter, and I know we've all seen better days. But, hopefully you're able to take advantage of our community, the Bandidos. Head over to our Discord, man. A lot of positive conversations, brighten your day, have fun, have some laughs, talk about builds. Good people. John B asks, do you think hardware gear set is any good to use? It doesn't call for me. It doesn't call out to me, I'll tell you that. I mean, it's one of the older gear sets. And I feel like the only reason to use it is if you're trying to do that infinite Secret Mine build, you know, because you can do that with that. But that's sort of not that exciting either. I mean, the Secret Mines are one of the oldest skills that the game had to offer. It's actually a pretty unique skill too, right? The Secret Mines are pretty cool. But I don't know, it's sort of just old news, I guess, you know what I mean? And Rigger's the same way. What's up, Marquez? Saludos from España. It's just sort of one of those, yeah, the Rigger set's like that too. It just doesn't really call out for me. I mean, I can look at the Rigger set and say, oh, I can make a skill build from scratch that's stronger than that one and have more slots. So I don't really see the point of running that. But some of these builds are just there for simplicity, you know? John B, so if you don't want to go through the hassle of constructing these builds and fine-tuning them, then yeah, I think the Hardwire set has that purpose. And same with the Rigger, right? Simplicity, it's just like, hey, I just need to find 4 gear pieces that match, that have skill damage. That's easy. Really easy to farm for, really easy to assemble. And some people just aren't into the technicalities of assembling this maximum power build, you know? But there are other builds out there like Eclipse Protocol, which is really easy to assemble too, probably would all agree. You know, 4 Eclipse pieces with status effects, and you got the best status effects build in the game in general, as a general status effects build. So, you know, some of them are very specialized, some of them are, well, they're all very specialized, but some of them add that really unique talent. And Eclipse Protocol adds that, you know, on kill, there's a waterfall effect of the status effect, and that's really unique, and that's why it calls out to me, and that's why that build set calls out to other players too. So, but Rigger and Hardwire, you know, they're not that great, I guess, you know, but they're simple, and so that can create a positive experience for people who don't want to deal with the hassles of coming up with a build. So that's their purpose. Yeah, and so AG says Hardwired is good for explosive secret builds. That's exactly what I mean. And it's just like, it's super predictable. That's what I said. He agrees. And I don't think people run it outside of that, right? Have you seen a really good build outside of that? I don't know. But I've been collecting, so you guys know I have been collecting some unique hardwired pieces to see if there's something there, but I'm not so sure there is, but we will see. Oh, I'm sorry, brother Marquez. Yeah, Colombia. Correction. That's not España. That's Colombia. Even better. Even better. I love Colombia. Americans don't know this, how great Colombia is. I think we're just like subject to our media, and so there are places that we don't travel to. But I spent a lot of time in Colombia, and it's beautiful. You guys, it is so beautiful. Probably one of the prettiest places in the world. First of all, it's got the largest fort outside of Spain, the largest Spanish fort outside of Spain, massive, Cartagena. And they used to have a lot of pirate attacks there. So it's got a lot of history, and it's got this walled-in city that's really cool, which is filled with amazing restaurants and boutiques and, you know, nightclubs and stuff like that. Really cool. And Cartagena, which is basically on the equator, it has the most beautiful sunsets you have seen in your life. You will never see a more beautiful sunset. I don't care. Blood orange red, giant ball. You've never seen the sun that big in your life. Again, this is on the equator. But beautiful, warm weather, beautiful people, and the food. Basically, the whole country is volcanic soils, right? High mountains, right? So a lot of people don't realize that. So you got your coasts and your islands and your port cities and whatnot, but otherwise it's mountainous terrain, volcanic soils, so really rich soils, right? So a lot of fruit companies there, you know, growing bananas and stuff like that, but also obviously coffee. There's a coffee zone, beautiful, and they got these palm trees like you've never seen before. I think it's the state tree if I remember right. But they got these palm trees that are like 200 feet high or something like that. They're really high. I've been there. Whole forest of them. A whole forest of these giant palm trees. And they're really huge. Really tall. Like dinosaur tall. All right. Really cool country. And the coffee is amazing. And there's just a lot of little funny nuances. Like in the coffee zone, I stayed in this really small, sleepy town. It's really small in the mountains. And there was like this whole fleet, like it was a thing for them to collect those old Toyota Jeeps. You guys know what I'm talking about? Can't remember exactly what their model number is, but they're Toyotas, but they're Jeeps. And they had them all in like mint condition, chromed out, off-road, and they use them as tourist vehicles to take people up to the national parks and to the trails for hiking and little tours like that. But really little things like that, right? Like, so the best coffee in the world, and I don't even think Colombians are actually big coffee drinkers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing a lot of them drink coffee. I think it might be more of a tea culture. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they have a huge coffee zone, and obviously a lot of that's probably exported to the U.S. because we are major coffee drinkers up in America. But anyways, beautiful country. I recommend it to anybody. I had some of the most unique experiences. I swam in a volcano, and the volcano was the size of like a 4-story building, and it was an ash volcano, so it wasn't water. It was like this ash, like maybe you would go to a spa and they would smear all over your face kind of ash. So it was like silky smooth. But you were buoyant, so you would float. You didn't need to swim. You would get in. There was no bottom to this volcano, by the way. And you would just float. It was amazing. FJ40, thank you, Clive. Appreciate. Oh, man. Got some knowledgeable peeps. Yeah, so Marquez says, Colombia no solo es Pablo Escobar. Hay muchas cosas mejores. So he's saying it's not just about Pablo Escobar, who's the major drug trafficker that is well known around the world because of many movies. But he's saying there's a lot more to the country. Totally agree. And the food and the people and the ambiance, the music. Oh, man. I just remember like when I arrived to Colombia, the first place was Cartagena. And when nightfall hit, man, you could hear the Latin music in the streets. It was an amazing experience. The city was just alive, just a lot of life, you know. So, but the food, the arepas, they have this thing called arepas, which is kind of like a biscuit, kind of a bread, and you know you could use it for breakfast or for dinners or whatever. It's got a lot of different uses. Amazing. And like the street vendors make arepas, and it's really good food. But the fruit, guys, again, remember we're talking about like volcanic soils. The fruit is off the hook. Every morning I had like fresh fruit smoothies, which they have one called like maracuja, which is, I think you would call it passion fruit. I think it's our version of passion fruit, or maybe dragon fruit. I'm not sure, but really, really good. And there were like people in these little buggy carts on the street corners. You know, these are like beach towns and whatnot, right? That would just make you these fresh smoothies every morning. That was my breakfast. So just a wonderful place to recommend it to everybody. But yeah, so that's my thing. So welcome Marquez. Sorry about getting that flag wrong, by the way. Good soccer team too, by the way. John B says, so gold gear is a lot better than gear sets. I would say, in general, John, yes. I would say that I can do a lot more with branded gear or improvised gear, but gold gear, than I could do with gear sets. And that's because gear sets, you're missing attributes, so because of that, you lose flexibility. And their talents are locked in on the backpacks and the chest pieces, so you lose flexibility. So better is subjective overall, but for the most part, when it comes to building, you need flexibility. You need the slots. The more slots, the better, and that's why gear sets are better. However, if you're looking for something very specific, then like a specialized talent, like Eclipse's waterfall effect, for example, I think which is called Eclipse Protocol, then, you know, you can only get that by running 4 pieces of the gear set. So that's what they offer. And that's what the devs try to do, is give it something unique. I guess the only exception might be probably Foundry. I guess when it comes to a tank build, well, I don't know, maybe there's more. I mean, I think when it comes to a tank build, Foundry's probably the strongest out there. I don't know. I have to double check that, but makeshift repairs is pretty strong. And I think it's been tested when it comes to Future Initiative too. So Future Initiative is the healer build they gave us. Foundry and Future Initiative both came out with Iron Horse, and you know, it offers more weapon damage to your team, but is it stronger than a makeshift healer build? I don't know. Good question. Is it truly stronger? I don't know. And when we mean truly stronger, you know, I guess there's two types of gameplay, right? There's general gameplay, which is what we really want, and then there's raid gameplay. And so for raids, I think there's a big subject here, so sorry about this, but I think most healer builds are OP. If you guys saw my build called the Ultimate Wingman, I go into that. I think a lot of healer builds are really overpowered, and we need to get them to offer more to a group. However, if you're in a raid, you're trying to manage 8 people, and sometimes 2 of those people are full-on tanks with 2 million in armor, and they're soaking up damage. Then you need a build like Future Initiative or whatever. But I believe somebody a long time ago did a comparison and proved out that an all-yellow build, you know, a makeshift build is actually stronger than Future Initiative. So I'm going off of memory. I don't have proof of that, but that's what I recall. Is that somebody actually tested it out, and like the heals per second is actually stronger if you build it out. And in using this, the build perks like Empathetic, Resolve, and forget the other one on the backpack that gives you 100% heal power. So anyways, so they're really close, but yeah. But for the most part, I would say yes. Like as a general statement, like you're gonna be better off having the extra slots and the flexibility that gear sets don't offer you. So yeah, that's my answer to you on that. Ace de Atlian says skill builds are the easiest to make. Yes, that's true. I think that's very true. That's very true. Hybrids are difficult though. The skill builds are easy. But the reason why is because you're going to have that skill tier, so you don't have to worry about that. And then whether it's full armor or full weapon damage. So for farming's sake, they're definitely easier to get those pieces because then you only have to worry about the 2 attributes that fall under it and what those are. And so as long as you get one of them to be what you want, then the other one you can just re-roll at the crafting bench or at the optimization station to get it to be what you want. And then from there, you just, if you are going to optimize, you only have that one slot to worry about. That's why they're easier to make skill builds. And also pretty straightforward. If you're looking for a maximum skill damage build, then you're looking for skill damage in 6 yellow tiers. And that's why our hybrids are made of. And that's why I say that our hybrid builds are just as strong as most skill builds maximized, because we have 6 skill tiers. We have maximum skill damage most of the time. And so from there though, what's challenging about hybrids specifically, and what skill builds don't offer, flat out skill builds, is that skill builds don't offer any weapon damage. There's none there. Even with the capacitor, it's barely there, right? But with a hybrid, what's difficult about it is getting that weapon damage to be in balance with how powerful that 6 skill tier turret is, or drone, or combo. And so that's the challenge of hybrids, and that's why I focus on those, especially lately, is because it's a lot of work. It's difficult to come with that combo, and if I can save you guys some time or give you some ideas, then I'm going to do that. But hybrids are difficult, again, because you're trying to bring survivability, skill damage, and weapon damage in line with each other. That's the ultimate goal, is to get all of those in this perfect little, in harmony. So, but good job. Yeah, but I do agree with you, Mr. De Atlian, or Alien, are we saying? I agree with you though. Base Connor did call it out too, the FJ40, good job. Toyota Land Cruisers, yeah, they were Land Cruisers, huh? The little mini Jeeps, they were little Land Cruisers. I think you're right, I think they're also called Land Cruisers, yeah. But FJ40 I think is what we know them as too, yeah. Night, Jonathan. Thanks for hanging with us, brother. And Michael Myers says, I think Striker is one that's worth it. Yeah, I think 4-piece Striker, guys. We're sleeping on that. Try it. Try it on a weapon with a decent RPM and you will be amazed. Even with weapons with horrible RPMs, it turns them into viable weapons. So, anyways, yeah. Nomad79, are you just tuning in? Well, you're gonna have to catch us on the replay, brother. A little late to the party, there was a lot of good knowledge nuggets dropped in this one. We went through all the weapons, most powerful weapons in the game that had something in common, which is wood. Wood is good. I'm not sure I can translate that, Marquez. Marquez says, Tux, ¿hay alguna pieza con nombre para curar a los aliados? Gracias. To cure, para curar, especially the chest. Para curar a los aliados? Gracias. I don't understand the, can you translate aliados? Gracias or somebody? Latina, can you translate that for me? What does aliados? Gracias mean? Para curar a los aliados, gracias. To cure, I think that means to cure the... I'm not sure what that means exactly. That's where my Spanish failed, on that word. It had me on that word. A says, Colombia is such a great place. If you haven't been, then you need to get a passport and get your ass to Colombia. Agreed. I did not mention the tactical, but you did bring a good point. It's not wood, but it is still good. We might need, that might be a whole nother video, right? It's not wood, but it's still good. But yeah, we did talk about the M1928. It made the list. We talked about the Tommy gun, which wasn't really on the list, and we just we called out why. But the is a low RPM, 600 RPM, I believe, as well. But it's also it's not as powerful as the M1928, but it does give you the ability to mod more, which can bring it in balance with the M1928. So something to think about there. Thanks for mentioning Nomad. Oh, okay. So she translates. Is there any piece? It's a piece. Tex hay alguna piece con nombre para curar. Is there a named piece to cure allies? I guess is that question, huh? I'm not sure there's a named piece to cure allies. The only one that I can think of is the on the chest. There's a chest talent. I think the chest talent is empathetic resolve, right? And it says, it's basically reads, going off the top of mind here, so correct me somebody if I'm wrong, but it says that if you're at 100% armor, if your armor is full, then you get, what is it? 15%, 30% more weapon damage. I can't remember that number. But yeah, that's the ally stat. So that's empathetic resolve. If your armor is full, then you're putting out more weapon damage. And then there's one on the backpack that basically says when your armor is full, you put out more heals. Am I saying that right? I think I got those correct. So. But then there's the designated hitter, which is a named sniper rifle that gives you more, well, it's perfect reformation, which gives you more healing power. And I'm not sure if it's a time thing. It might be 30% more healing power, which is a lot. And it might be for a longer duration than a non-perfect version. And all you have to do is hit an enemy with the head. You don't actually have to kill them. So you can run the non-perfect version on an assault rifle or a shotgun or something else and do the same thing as well. But there's a designated hitter, which helps with that too. Yeah, Nomad, the build that you're seeing is the Limitless. That's right. That's the gameplay footage. Safeguard! Michael Myers calls it out. Thank you. And Jonathan does too. Safeguard. When your armor is full, your repair skills are increased by 100%. Thank you. That's how I know it's getting late. My mind starts shutting down. I start forgetting names. That's my tale, guys. Not playing poker with you now that you know Mattel. Alright guys, so I will see you on the other side. We've come to the end of our time. And remember to hit the like and comment down below. If you don't have anything special to say, don't worry about it. Just hit me up with the Tux Live in the comment section below the video. And I will also be adding more links to the description area for the builds that we discussed in this video as we went through all the what is good weapon types. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support. Appreciate you hanging out with me on Saturday night as we did this really fun topic. I will see you on Monday or Tuesday for our next video release. Look forward to that. It's going to be an exciting one as well as another classified build, and we'll have at least 2 streams next week as well. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the flippity flip.